Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
He haven't got it!
He's on the outside line, though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now, though, for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it! Big Barry!
We now move into the 5th anniversary season of the NARS 2025 Virtual Modern Sports Car Championship. And as it always seems to be, no matter what platform you drive on in the sim racing world, somewhere you always end up at the Daytona International Speedway road course, the World Centre of Speed. Hello everybody, welcome along to the opening round of what is going to be a very heavily packed calendar running all the way through to the 20th of November. Hello and welcome to the official broadcast. You join myself, Alex Goldschmidt. You also join James Parfitt. We'll also have Ross Smith, our technical expert, giving us the 411, so to speak, on what's going to be going on. But guys, welcome back.
Yes, this is going to be exciting, isn't it? Second season on NARS. I'm looking forward to this, mate. I think this should be absolutely banging. We got the 2025 cars as well. And yeah, some big changes coming over from last season as well. Ross was just telling us all about it. I'm sure he won't mind repeating himself, will you, Ross?
No, not at all. It's great to be here. I'm super excited to be doing this with you guys again this year, and I'm glad to have the opportunity. I will miss being out on track, but I'll be there for some of the historic stuff in the sister series over at VWSC, and I'll be here for a little bit of support action for the NARS side, for VMSC, helping out with Matthew and Alec King as well.
Sounds good. So there is a lot to talk about because things have changed. We've got a few new cars. Of course, we've got the LMDH and the LMH spec hypercars. We've also got our LMP2s, which is also going to add a little bit of spice to the mix. So we'll have the Eureka 07 and we'll have the Ligier JSP 217 as well. Then we go to GT3. So you've got the Aston Martin Vantage GT3, the BMW M4, the Corvette Z06, the 296 from Ferrari, the Mustang, the Huracan, the Lexus RCF, and also the other usual suspects like McLaren, Mercedes, and Porsche. But also very interesting that new drivers have also joined the championship, Ross, and very interesting on how NARS VMSC is going to give the opportunity for those drivers to get a taste for it, get into a bit of a rhythm, because we've got a very long calendar, haven't we?
Oh my, yes, and I think I might actually pass a little bit of the championship details over to Matthew Overton, who's our admin for the series, because I think he's going to say it best as far as what he has planned for the whole season. I can jump back and give some details here on what's going on with the mod, but Matthew, if you don't mind, why don't you fill everybody in?
Yeah, pleased to be here. This has been a development over the last couple of years, actually. As you might know, last year we, in a break from what we'd done for the first 3 years between the VWSC and the BMSC, last year we started running the IMSA calendar. because we realized that to run all the races that we wanted to on this mod, we could not do it in a single series. And so I took the IMSA schedule and ran that with the Michelin Endurance Challenge races as overlap races or parallel races with the wet calendar that is being run on the Saturdays. And that worked out really well. It gave a lot of variety and got everyone the track that they really wanted to race, and allowed both series to shine a little bit in their own right. And then this year we introduced the LMP's 2s to further that differentiation a little bit, to add some more challenge to drivers, to bring it a little bit more to real life, and also the double pace lap, so that now rather than a single file start, each of the classes will start double file. And for Daytona, that's going to make things really exciting coming down into turn 1 right off the get-go, as everyone's relatively close, double stacked into the corner, and give people a challenge right off the start. We've talked about that in the pre-race brief, so everyone is thinking about that, I hope, in the right way, that we can get out there and have a good start to the race. But it's a nice challenge, nice change, and I'm really looking forward to the way the season is going to pan out.
Brilliant, thank you very much there, Matthew. So first of all, what's the calendar for season 5? Well, there it is. We start here at Daytona. February 20th, we head to Long Beach, then to Sebring on March 6th. April the 17th, we go to Monterey. Belle Isle, well, Detroit, aka Belle Isle, on May 8th. Then we go to the Glen on June 5th. 17th of July, we head over the border to Canada, to Mosport, and then we go to Road America on the 14th of August. Indianapolis Motor Speedway will be the venue on the 18th of September. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta on the 16th of October. And one of my hidden gems, I feel, in the calendar, VIR hosts the season finale on November the 13th. But you have to think about what are going to be the keys to this race here at the World Centre of Speed. Fuel management, use traffic to your advantage, and stay focused into the night. Today we will be running in both daytime and nighttime, so there'll be that crossover point. We also have to say a big thank you to our partners, contributors and sponsors as well. So a big thank you to the likes of SimRace 24/7, Champion Motorsports, Grid Finder, Ozadog and Design. We've got Virtual Tracks, Optical Dreamsoft, Virtual LM Sportscar Simulation, ODS, Brian B, and of course the team here at JP Broadcasting. So, Strategy Corner. This is where it's really going to get interesting, and we turn our attention first of all to GT. So, tyres, medium tyres, fuel, you're probably looking at maybe a 2-stop strategy, 55 to 65 minutes. Cars to beat, well, at the moment that's yet to be decided. But of course, you've got to keep an eye on the closing rates for the fast cars. Hypercar next up. Combination of both medium and hard tyres. So you've got to clear those GTs fast. You've got to set up for the Le Mans chicane and also on the infield and the oval. Again, fuel, it's one normal fuel flow, 40 to 50 minutes per stint, anywhere between 2 to 4 stops. And then we've also, we'll talk about the LMP2s during the course of the race, but then of course you look at the circuit itself, the World Centre of Speed, the Daytona International Speedway, first built in 1957, 12 turns in all, 5.73 kilometres, 3.56 miles, and James, more importantly, we've got those angles of banking to discuss, haven't we?
Oh dear sir, the banking is going to be one of the interesting factors, isn't it? We've got quite a long run as well from the Le Mans straight round into turn 1. Speeds in the hypercars, I did drive them earlier on. Well, to be fair, I only drove my 2 favourites, which was the 9X8 and the Ferraris. I was topping speeds around about 190 plus in them cars. The Ferrari, dude, oh, you need to record the engine sound. It is just, it is like going into a steakhouse and having a T-bone steak, and it's just soft as anything. It gets to a certain point and then all of a sudden it will whistle, and it whistles straight in your ear, and you know you are sat in a beautifully powered beast, and you just sit there and you just think, man, I am in heaven. Could I drive it? No. Did I stack it? Absolutely. The poor car, unfortunately, did not look like the car I was left the pits with. By the time I went through the Western Horseshoe there, Alex, and I slid the thing round and hit the barrier, it looked more like a go-kart. But, hey, I gave it a go, and it was just absolutely incredible. It's such a nice car. But I think this is going to be one of the things they are going to have to look out for. They've got to be really careful with traffic management. They've got to make sure that they understand what's going on a racetrack, who's going where. If they've got two GT3s together, they're going to have to go high up to the wall. It's going to be just head on a swivel. They're going to have to turn into owls for pretty much most of this race. And I think overall, it's going to be a challenge, but it is Daytona. Everybody's driven it. We all know it, you know, and it should be manageable for all of them. Are we going to see calamity and collisions? Probably, but let's see if we can minimize the amount of collisions we see.
Well, let's hope that no one pulls a Johnny Milner like we saw in the real life for LX24 just this past weekend. One of the most viral, I think, posts on social media.
Dude, have you seen the Mazda? The Mazda race?
Yes. Grisham Wagner getting punted into the wall, going into the tri-oval on the start.
And then everybody behind. It wasn't even, do you know the interesting thing? We talk about it, but it wasn't even like there was yellow flags there. They literally just, all the little Mazdas just come straight in behind it. Bang, 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 bang. And there was about 6 that made it through. It was just incredible.
So qualifying for all the respective classes, so Hypercar, LMP2, GT3, each class has had 8 minutes to get around this fantastic 3.56 mile 12 turn circuit. Ross, LMP2 is going to add a nice new dynamic to this as well. Of course, we've got teams deciding between the Oreca or the Ligier. So we're going to see possible speeds approaching what we're going to see on the hypercars. How is that going to really factor in when we have good old multi-class racing here at Daytona?
Well, absolutely, Alex. This has been like a very interesting thing to have brought in here, because obviously we haven't done this historically. It's always just been hypercar and GT3s, and that's certainly a reflection of what's going on in WEC. As they've obviously eliminated the LMP2, they've moved that into their own series. And so George on the VWSC series, he's reflected that. And Matthew said, you know what, we're going to do it old IMSA style. So he's brought them out and included them, and driver response has been fantastic. Everybody loves it. It adds a whole new dimension to it. The memes, the jokes are everywhere and rampant. Everyone calling the LMP2 the dentist class now and everything. So, and it becomes a bonding moment, I guess, for the GT3s and the hypercars alike, because those LMP2s, they are a chaotic factor in all of it, because they are quick, like you're saying, just like the hypercars. On the fast bits, they've got great aero downforce. They generate a lot of speed. They can't quite keep up to the top end that those hypercars are able to get, so once they're out on the oval, they'll be able to get by them, but they are going to be a nuisance and a problem in all of the slow bits, just because they are able to take those corners faster. They can hang on there a little bit more, so they're going to be right in the mix of every single battle that you're going to see, and it's going to be right at the worst points for a lot of these drivers. So expect a few Milner gestures going out to a few of those throughout the race, I'm sure, but hopefully everyone keeps their nose clean, keeps most of their body panels on, and it should be great racing to watch.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I noticed, of course, we've got the Aston Martin Valkyrie. James, that looks a bit like a Lockheed LR71 with that rear wing assortment that we got, plus the shark fin. But you can't miss that car at all with the amount of aero it's got on that thing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's taken something and turned it into something else, isn't it? It's just one of them things that you sit back and you just think, who come up with that? Did he not have a rubber to get rid of the lines before he sent it off? Do you know what I mean? And then he just decided that actually, no, we'll just keep whacking them on. Ignore my pencil mistakes, it's fine. You know, and then we got whatever it is there.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I'm not going to stop designing. So there you go. Add more aero, the more the merrier. It just cuts a different figure. And then of course we got a car that was a bit of a revolution in the hypercar class, of course, the Peugeot 9X8 Evo. Now, the big question is, does this version have the rear wing that we now see on the current car? Because if anyone might remember, when that car came out, it had no rear wing, and Peugeot were proud to put stickers on the livery of the 9X8 when it first came out saying, we don't need a rear wing, and they completely depended on the ground effect style of the underflooring. But, you know, it's a car that I also like. It was something different, and it was great to see Peugeot, who had been in the battle with Audi Sport for a number of years in the, you know, in World Endurance Championship racing, and it does. There you go. There it is in the pit garage, and that's the one that's got Johnny Gutierrez's name on it. So you can see the telemetry on the bottom right. But another striking car that we love the fact that hypercar here in NARS is just such an alive category. And also seeing the Lamborghini SC63 on the grid as well. It's just great that we've got such a depth and breadth of different vehicles that are going to be going toe to toe right the way up until the 20th of November when the Season 5 champions are decided.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. They haven't just gone, people out there, the guys haven't just gone, right, okay, we're just going to use this. Do you know what I mean? They've gone out and they've thought about the cars that they're going to use. They've thought about the cars that they want to have on there, and they've done a great job with it. And I think this is the thing, you know, picking different cars. The 9X8 I love, and I think, do I like the wing? No, not really, but it's there, and that's what we've got to cope with.
Yeah, it looks like that's been a bit of a Halford's, yeah, that'll fit, and just bolt it on and see what happens. So for our American viewers that are joining us, thank you very much for coming along. It's a bit like Auto Advance for the UK. So like can stock parts for pretty much any vehicle you can think of. So hence the joke. But yeah, I mean, it's still, even with that, I would call it a slight blemish on that car. I wouldn't call it a monstrosity, because it's actually quite discerning. It actually fits within the silhouette of the car. But more to the point, I think it's just good to have that car on the grid. But also the car that's going to have the most straight line speed, gentlemen, is going to be the 499. And that could be a bit of a worrying fright for our drivers, especially in the GT3 classes, because we've got multiple different categories in terms of classification. And more to the point, Ross, that's one of the big things that's going to happen over the 1.5 hours of racing. We're going to find that the teams are going to be very, very careful on how they manage back market traffic. So folks, don't be at all surprised if we see LMP2, Hypercar and GT3 going 3 abreast, especially down the backstretch into the Le Mans chicane. But what an exciting prospect to have these LMP2 cars to make it part and parcel of what we've got here for this season.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're talking about the way that 9X8 is, and mentioning how the 499 is, and saying how they're going to be the fastest for the GT3 class. Every single car coming at them, not a GT3, is going to seem like a torpedo coming out of nowhere. No matter how much distance they have in their rearview mirror, able to see who's coming, every single one of them is going to be flying up on them when they're, especially on the banking sections, going into turn 1. That turn 1 is going to be a huge point of contention, because it's a little bit off center. You have to take kind of a curved arcing line into it. Everyone knows the way that you ideally want to get in there, and there are some slight variations to the way that drivers have their cars set up to be able to take it. So as they're dealing with those speed differentials, that turn 1 point, it's such a massively different spot for everyone. The braking zones for those hypercars is so much different from the LMP2, from that for the GT3s. And just when you have those speed differentials, you're going to see a lot of these drivers trying to understand where they can make a move work and where they really shouldn't be trying to make a move work. And that turn 1, I think, is going to be the hot spot of the, and it is for real life. You see it all the time when you go over to Daytona. I had the pleasure of going there and meeting a lot of the CMS team. Matthew Overton, who just rejoined us in the booth, we all got to go to that race, and it was great because when the sun would come up and the action would start to heat up, you would see that side of the track leading down into turn 1 in the grandstands. That's where everyone started filling up first. They would just get their spot brilliant. There, set up camp, and yeah, you can see back in the back there, you know, all of that section back there, that would fill up with people first, and it never disappointed. There was always great action going into that corner. So we really, you know, I think we're going to expect a lot to go on there. But I think a lot of the drivers in this field, they've managed to come to terms with what the limits of the cars are. So I think that they feel comfortable going in here with a lot of the drivers that are on track right now. So we'll just see how much that trust goes back and forth throughout the entirety of the race. It is, you know, an hour and a half that they have to spend time together, and I'm sure there'll be more than 1 or 2 incidents that start to go off where you know, maybe some of the kindness that was extended gets retracted, or you know, maybe you can cash that in for points later in the race. You know, if you happen to be in a battle and you've been, you know, as a GT3 and you've been giving room to certain hypercars going through, you know, like, hey, you know, I'm trying to make this work here, and you know, maybe that hypercar will help you out. So you'll see a little bit of give and take, I'm sure, as things go on, and it's definitely going to shape up this race as we go through.
James, one of the big things about this season opener here at Daytona is the opportunity to put the feelers out, and more to the point is to see what your opposition is capable of. But as we go through the NARS VWSC season, right the way through to VIR on November 20th, it is going to be that sort of pendulum swing that we're going to see some great battles, but we're also going to see that how the pecking order in terms of the classes with regards to Hypercar, LMP2, GT3 AM, GT3 Pro, and we've also got an AM class in the Hypercar side of things as well. So if drivers come into this championship quite new but have run on this platform before and are very accustomed to it, we could see a couple of dark horses in.
Yeah. The thing with this, you are going to see, you know, people that you wouldn't necessarily think. Do we know most of these? Yes, we do. They've been here before, and that's the thing. They've driven some of these cars before. But the likes of Damon Nadrozic and who else have we had in it? Don Fryman is another one that I don't remember seeing. There's a few others that are here as well. Everybody at the moment, in our eyes, can win this championship, because that's what it is. When we can't even give you a sheet at the moment that turns around and says what's going to be the strongest car, we're not going to be able to tell you who the strongest drivers are. Yes, you can look at Kesby, you can look at Bell, you can look at Kirby, you can look at Pope, you can look at all of these people that we've seen before, but the likes of Tucker Martin, who we haven't, we can't sit and judge, you know, and that's the thing. I think you've just got to sit back and wait. You know, will we have a better idea coming into race 2, 3, 4 and 5? Of course we will. But this is round 1. We don't even know what cars are going to be strong at the moment. So there's a lot to think about, there's a lot to deal with, you know, and that's the thing. There's just so much to take into this at this moment in time that we've just got to sit there and let this season play out. We can't sit there and say this is going to be good, this is going to be good. I'd love the likes of Johnny Gutierrez in a 9X8, absolutely at the top of the lead, dashing everybody by 40 seconds. Do I think it's going to happen? No, because we don't know what the rest of the cars are going to do. That's the thing, and what cars are going to be strong. And let's face it, you could have the best car in the world, like a Max Verstappen in a Red Bull, stick him in a Haas, is he still going to go and win the championship? Probably not. So, you know, until we get through a few rounds, I think at the moment, cars, drivers, it's just all up in the air. And yes, sorry, welcome Kim. I did see you in YouTube chat. I haven't responded. I do apologise for that one.
Yeah, so first of all, folks, as James rightly said, the jury's out. We don't know what's going to transpire over the next hour and a half of racing. Of course, as with multi-class, it will be hypercars that will be let loose first, then the LMP2s, then the GT3s. And that's where, Ross, we really have to talk about how crucial the start on any endurance race, and it's even more prevalent here at Daytona. You were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, for this, especially for this series, which CMS is, especially with the R Factor 2 side of the championships, we've traditionally gone with single file release start, where as you come to the line, you cross it, that's when your race starts, and it keeps things civilized. It makes sure you don't have any Monza turn one. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, oh, sorry. So it looks like we're having a little session switch kind of going on here, but yeah, as far as getting that start, it's extremely important that drivers are paying attention to the way that this new double file system works. Most of them are very familiar with it within sim racing, so it's not anything new, but certainly within this atmosphere where we're typically used to saying like, okay, you've got that orange zone, which starts from the start line through, I think it goes through the entire infield for this race. And penalties are double there. You can race as much as you wish, but if you get caught out for any illegal maneuvers, breaking the rules, then those penalties are double. They are very harsh, and nobody wants to see that. So, yeah, you want to get a good run. When you're double filed, that means everyone's a lot closer together. That means that everyone has a much better chance of being able to up their positions much sooner on. And this is not a 24-hour race like it is in real life. So you got to be able to get on it pretty quick. This is the last hour and a half that you see in the IMSA race where everyone is on it and they got to go. There's still an endurance element for sure because we have, I think this one is running the 2X fuel, but they have to be able to get on it. They have to get in there, get those positions as fast as they can, and move on.
Yeah, so it is going to be the case that with the rolling start double file by class, and the race will start, so there'll be no overtaking until each pair of cars cross the start finish line at the end of the formation lap. So for this championship, we've allowed for that to happen, so we get them into formation, and then when they're given the green flag signal, they will be under full race conditions. And that run down to turns 1 and 2, and then into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe at turn 3, that's also a big part of how your lap comes together. You've got to really, really make sure that if you are trying to get past that back marker traffic, like say if you're a hypercar getting through on a GT3, you as the faster vehicle have to make the overtake cleanly, but it's also down as the responsibility for the other driver in the other vehicle to give you racing room. And plus also, one of the big things about Daytona is we've mentioned about the infield, we've mentioned about the banking as high as 31 degrees on the oval turns, going through the tri-oval when you come across the start-finish line is at 18 degrees, a mere 2 degrees on the backstretch heading into the Le Mans chicane. Also, the Le Mans chicane is a big possibility of people going off and people incurring penalties as well. And I wanted to come to you on this one, Ross, because the Le Mans chicane, we've seen some great side-by-side action over the years, but it's even more prevalent when you've got 3 ultra competitive classes. And at this first sort of stomping ground of the season, no one wants to give an inch so that the others can take a mile of an advantage.
Yeah, Alex, and I'll use this opportunity to mention that this is actually the first time in any racing sim where this configuration of the Le Mans chicane is being represented, where it does have the exact curbing and shape of that track in here. No one else has this, not in any official sim anywhere. Even within the Assetto Corsa community, which is usually pretty fast to enact these things, we work very closely with James Maves over at Virtual Tracks, and he allowed us to use his original Daytona, and Ben Borman, he worked with Don Fryman, who's in this race. I think he's in here. Yeah, he's in here tonight. In putting that chicane in there with all of the curbing and everything, which I'm sure we're going to see being used very aggressively. So we're very excited for that, and you're exactly right. It's going to be pushed really hard to get onto. And I'm going to let you go ahead and take over as we get ready to start this thing off.
Get ready for round 1 of season 5 of NARS Virtual Modern Sports Car Championship. Ben Kesby and Mike Bell are on the front row, with Troy Iron and Daniel Kirby next up on row number 2. Top 3 lockout by Cadillac on home soil. Then it's Daniel Kirby, Johnny Gutierrez in the one of two Peugeot 9X8s. Starts on P5 with Scar Pope alongside John Mayer. Then we've got Oliver Day and John Mayer rounding out the top 8. Mayer leading in Hypercar AM, as they will very shortly go into the tri-oval to get the Hypercar action underway. Then it's Jill Lalonde, Adrian Rice, Carl Strahal, Lanny Hall, Norm Graff and Diego Rodriguez, as the two Cadillacs will line up as we head into the tri-oval, as the opening round of the season for 2025 is green, green, green. We're underway, and the two Cadillacs go wheel to wheel in towards turn number 1. And well, that's going to be a send round the outside. You can just see how close it can be. A little bit of darting and weaving behind the race leader as they go into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe for the first time. And Kesby leads from Bell, and Kirby rounding out the top 3. So Kirby making a move on the number 24 Cadillac V-Series R of Troy Uyen. So Troy drops down into P4 as they go into the left-hand at the kink before the Western Horseshoe here at T5. Meantime, things have gotten underway in LMP2, James. Looks like Alec King is leading the way ahead of Luciano Uchiazo and Mateo Santos at the minute.
Yeah, they are at the moment with Mike Dorm and McClinsky there as well. In the GT3s, you've got William Schlittling, Paul Reyes, Paul Ibbotson, Jacobs, Scudder and Sunflap as well, all there at the same time. So action taking place. All 3 classes seem to have got away without any major dramatics, and I say that loosely at this terminal because at the moment you can see the GT3s there have just started going in through turn 7 when you got Ben Kesby coming out the other side, heading around the banking there down into turn 1. So I reckon within 3 to 4 laps, Alex, I think we're going to start seeing traffic.
And that's going to be the big question here. How well can the Hypercars manage getting through on the GT3s as Ben Kesby comes across the line to complete the opening lap? Now, Ross, very important thing we need to talk about here as Kirby and Bell go nearly wheel to wheel coming into turn 1. There's Kirby with at the moment heading through turns 1 and 2 and into the Rodriguez Horseshoe at turn 3. The closing speeds are going to be absolutely frightening for those GT3 drivers when they see a Hypercar right on their 6.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier, and being able to get a jump at the beginning of this race, because these guys want to be as far up and ahead of their competitors as they can be as soon as they start hitting traffic, because they get a little sketchy there. They need to be able to have that advantage going in, so that way they can start leapfrogging through the field and get that much more of a gap on them, because you do not want to lose your competitors mixing it up with the lower classes, because that's just how you lose so much time. You lose your slipstream, and you just can't have that. You got to be up there, and it's very exciting to see those top 5 there, probably even the top 6. Those guys are very fast. They're very competitive. You're going to see a lot of team play going on, particularly in the VWSC side of things, coming up on the sister series over the weekend. So this is going to be kind of a preview as to how they be able to get on with these cars. And oh man, look at him go through the. Oh boy, that's a nice slide going out there. I think that, who was that? It was Lalonde. Yep, going through, loving his French Peugeot. This is great fun to watch. I haven't been on this side of it in quite a while, so it's a lot of fun for me to see this.
It's quite refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah, this is
You
great.
get to see
And I
what
love
we
seeing
see.
all the deliveries of it too. It's wonderful. These guys are able to pull off this show.
Yeah, we've got a battle here, and this is between something about and Query. This is a battle for P3 in the AM classification for the GT3. Well, something that is getting the toe down the back stretch, heading into the Le Mans chicane, pulls it to the inside, neatly goes through, flames spitting from the side exhaust on the left-hand side. And that was a great move by the 777 on the 085. That's what we're going to see a lot, not just inter-class here, James, but also within the respective class battles themselves.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we're going to look out for, and I think that this is where some of the action's going to take shape at the moment as well, down in the GT3s. We know generally they're branded as the slower class, and they are on track. You know, they're not doing 190 plus of miles an hour. But I can tell you what, when you get a group of them like this together, that we've got the three here, you do end up with some great battles. Jaime Zelecki, James Walker in this one as well. And I think going forward, we'll have to keep an eye on the GT3s, and we're certainly going to have to keep an eye on the GT3s when these beasts alone, driven by Ben Kesby, start coming through. Because I can tell you one thing, by the looks of it, Alex, it's going to be within about 2 laps there. Matt's joined us back in the booth. Matt as well, the opening round's up and running, green, and it's all going well at this moment in time.
It is. I'm really pleased with the way the race started for all 3 classes. They were playing through T1, and the infield came out onto the banking, and it all looked really good, which is just fabulous. Means everyone gets a good chance to go racing.
So on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, Eugene Mazur and Preston McNair battling away, and you can see the sparks flying from the 420 Eureka as McNair pulls to the outside, going into the tri-oval, and is going to get the side draft here. Side drafting is also very important here at Daytona, James, because you get that nice drag, that bit of a toe, and McNair, oh, they come together in the run into turn 1. Not what you wanted to see happening on the opening part of roundabout lap 5.
Yeah, not good. Not good, but then again, we knew it was kind of coming, and guess what class it's in? The LMP2s. So, you know, unfortunately, it is what it is. On that one, we can have a look back at that in a little bit of a time. Let's give this a minute to settle down here. To be fair, we haven't actually had many incidents over the first time. Now, it looks like Luis Lemos has DNF'd, unfortunately. I can't see any reason, as well as Mateus Santos and Vinicius de Oliveira. Again, no physical reason as to why they've done that. I can't see any incidents. Stuart Barge also looks like he's DNF'd, but it does look like he's had a bit of dramatic. So maybe it could be all down to connection issues. I've had them already right at the beginning. So we'll see if they come back, or if they're going to be out and go and put slippers and a blanket on like Matt does on a Friday night.
How do you know that?
He sends me pictures. It's like talking to me grandpa on a Friday.
With a smoking jacket and slippers and a pipe.
Yeah, well, his general nickname's Hugh Hefner.
Oh, well, we're not going to go down this road at this time. But there we go. There's Becky Ely Clark in the 418. But then one of the big things that I've noticed, obviously, with our information that we've got reference to respective hypercars, the Porsche 963 has a slight bit of a straight line disadvantage. It's actually ranked lowest at all respective hypercars. But Daniel Kirby is keeping Mike Bell in the 19 Smart BOPed Racing Caddy very, very honest. And the Porsche 963. Very, very capable car, gents.
Let me cut in here. I can stick Daniel Kirby in a mini, and he'll probably still keep up with the hypercars. That kid is an alien. I don't even know what planet he's from. He's not from the world of human living beings that drive cars. And this is the thing with Dan Kirby. He drove I think it was every car last season. At some point during the season, he was in one of the cars. He was in a GT3. He was in an LMP2, not an LMP2, he was in a GT3, and he was in a hypercar. Now he's going side by side here on the opening run, straight down into turn number 1. Kirby on the right-hand side in the red and black, and Mike Bell on the inside. Kirby's going to try and brake later. Watch the switchback if he can get it. Nope, there is a GT3 there. That could be Max Sunfenlap, who has gone round, and it does look like Ben Kesby is also DNF'd, but again, that we think that could be down to connection issues. There could be a lot of connection issues, disconnects going on at the moment.
So this makes it the battle for the overall race lead as they hit GT3 back marker traffic. This could also give the Cadillac number 24 of Troy Huyen an opportunity to close in. Johnny Gutierrez and Scott Pope round out the top 5, riding on board with Dan Kirby at the minute, and he's hustling his way past back marker traffic whilst trying to put the frighteners on Mike Bell in the number 19 caddy, and going into turn 6. Oh, Kirby has to avoid, go around the outside there and loses a little bit of time.
Yeah, he does, and this is one of the things, this is why I like jumping on board with these guys trying to go through here. I remember doing Alec King, I think it was at Laguna last season. Mate, we talk about having puppies. Jesus Christ, I had a litter of puppies and a litter of kittens by the time I'd finished with him. It was just absolutely insane watching these guys go through, and I love this cockpit view, weaving their way through the traffic. It is absolutely amazing. Now, if we pick up on some of the cars further down who are still coming through the traffic, we've got the start of the LMP2s that's something going to be making the moves as well. And not funny enough, who's leading it? Alec King is at this moment. So we'll try and pick up on him getting involved in the GT3s as well, which is going to be within a lap's time. But that onboard view, due to these siphoning through traffic, I can't, it's like ASMR knife through butter. It is just absolutely sexy the way that they drive these cars and weave it and wiggle it through the little GT3s. It's really impressive.
One of the other things I wanted to point out here, Ross, that obviously with the LMP2, the drivers had the choice of the Orica or the Ligier. Pretty much the entire field that we got here at Daytona all went for the Orica 07, which seems to be the car of choice.
Actually,
and that
we
also...
only have the Oricas. The Ligiers are not included.
Right, thank you very much.
We wish to, but
that.
we weren't able to complete a BOP process to make sure that the cars ran comparably, so the Oricas were then.
Well, that's pretty good in some respects then, Matthew, because it means that everyone is in the same vehicle, everyone's got the same equipment underneath them, but it's also comes down to that nuance of one big thing, setup.
It does. It does. And as you can see, with 17, 18 cars running in this race, it didn't diminish the attractiveness of the class.
Yeah, so at the moment, well, we had 44 cars that started this race. We now have at the moment 40 cars due to 4 DNFs. So Norm Graff in the number 013 Aston Martin Valkyrie, Luis Lemos, Mateo Santos and Vinicius de Oliveira, as we have a side-by-side hypercar battle as one of the Cadillacs went through, well, there is that, that's it, Caddy versus Porsche.
Yeah, that's actually Ben Kesby, who currently is a lap down. He must have had a disconnect and he must have come back again. The problem is obviously the timing tower's got him sitting down in 39th currently, but you can see there between what Kesby is doing in the hypercars, he's 7th in class. He's chasing down Oliver Day, but unfortunately he's got to go round him twice to be able to actually get onto the same lap as him. So at the moment he's just weaving his way through some of these cars, because obviously he's quick. We know that he was near the front, Ben Kesby. So he's
Defibrillator on standby for Parfit.
Oh, there we are.
There we go.
There we are.
There we go. And well, I think that was
Strohall, I think it might have been.
Strohall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that you can see is the way that went down. And it's just, I don't know, he just got in too hot and he's just unfortunately gone round and then landed right in front of Kesby and then just manages to get it out of the way. So fair play to him for that, but yeah, not an ideal place.
Yeah, so yeah, Karl Strahal beaching it on the racing line, but luckily enough holding on to the brakes. And well, that means that Diego Rodriguez has gone up ahead in the 005 Porsche 963 hybrid as they filter their way through the Le Mans chicane. Gilles Lalonde versus John Maher, and this is Mayer. This is for the class lead, and these two are 0.2 of a second apart. So again, just great to see these battles up and down the order in the respective classes, and also Gilles Lalonde running the Le Mans livery, if I remember correctly. That's what reminds me of on that 9X8 as two Hypercar AM class leaders. We've got a yellow out in sector 1 at the minute, so someone might have had a bit of a drama. But again, guys, these battles will ebb and flow, and especially when we get to the pit stops. So here is the replay, courtesy of Champion Motorsports, and it's one of the LMP2s on the sausage curbs, and just glances the barriers. Was that Mika Dern possibly, I think?
No, Stuart Barge there in the thing, but it's also Zalecki's had an issue. You can see him coming into turn number 1 at a rapid rate of knots. There seems to be we'll do a little bit of a almost a catch-up, should we say, because Josh McGlinskey has also had a problem. This is Josh going into turn 1 as well. Bang, straight into the side of the wall. Carl Struhel and Alexander McQuarrie, they've just had another little bit of a moment here. And unfortunately, it looks like they've oh, dude, what? I'm not even going to, we won't even do that. And then we've had a DNF of Jaime Zlecki. Unfortunately, that's going to go round all day. Something's gone on with that car because he's literally back there at the moment. So we'll go back to live pictures now. But that's a brief little catch-up of what is going on.
So we are getting close to 15 minutes of this race being completed. And gents, one of the other things that we need to talk about, ambient air temperature currently 15 degrees, track temperature 31, and over the course when we go from daytime to nighttime, that temperature is going to plummet like a stone in a pond.
Yes.
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 Aren't they, Matt?
They are, because we're racing in the same time zone. So it will go down, but not as quickly as the night passes on the race, because we're running a 10 by. So they get a good dose of daytime, and then they get a dose of nighttime in this race. So you will see some temperature drop, but it's not going to be like 2 o'clock in the morning temperatures. It's going to be 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, so class leaders at the moment, Mike Bell leads in Hypercar, John Marr leads in Hypercar AM, Alec King in LMP2, Ryan Reyes in the 911, the 911 is in the number 911, not the model classification. The 992 Porsche GT3 leads LMGT3 overall, and also in AM, with William Schlichting leading in the Mercedes AMG Evo GT3 number 7 car. And he's second in the overall pecking order of GT3s, but is behind Reyes. But guys, it just goes to show that we can have Hypercar AM, we can have Hypercar Pro, and you always see that there's always going to be one person or maybe a couple that might struggle when you have multi-tiered rankings within classifications.
Ooh, that's a Ross Smith or Matthew Overton question on that one.
Especially for what time zone you and I are in, respectively, James.
Ooh, don't even want to imagine.
So absolutely, we're going to see some interesting results in this race, because it's the first race of the season. Everyone is really coming to grips with the cars in a serious way. It's what I talked about in the race brief, is while they've had the chance to race these cars over several tracks against each other, including a rehearsal of this race, this is the first time where it's really serious, where there's points in the line, and everyone's racing like that. They're really into it. And so a little bit of patience, a little bit of experience, a little bit of where can I go? And we're going to see some drivers shine today that may not necessarily throughout the rest of the season, as everyone comes to grips with their cars a little better and are able to get more out of their cars. So, as a first race, Daytona is an awful track to be your first race this season on. It's a really difficult track, but it's going to give people the moment to shine. Absolutely. I mean, I'm watching Ryan Reyes, who his class is AM. He his races, he has struggled. Although he's a fast driver, he has struggled with some consistency issues. But he's doing really well in this race. Is really showing what he is capable of doing over an extended period. So I hope he's able to sort of lock that together and keep it going for the rest of the race. That would be a terrific result for him.
Well, dramas for William Schlichting. Was running in the lead in LMGT3, now has dropped down to 4th behind Eric Jacobs, who's just been overtaken by the number 25 Ferrari 296 GT3 of Alan Holden. Dave Coors rounds out the top 3 in LMGT3. Who was that hypercar that hit the wall coming out of turn 6, James?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it may have been Carl Struhel coming in through. Nope, he's gone off.
And that's on the entrance to the Le Mans chicane.
He's trying to come up.
Very, very lucky, that LMP2 that was right behind him. And you're now going to see a bit of, that's called a track cut.
Yeah, there's been been like almost a rush of certain things that have been going on, and I think some of them at the moment just need to settle down a little bit.
Yeah, because we are getting towards nearly 20 minutes of the race completed. Track temperature has only dropped 1 degree. There's Cole McMillan in the number 18 Arica 07, currently running 10th in class and is 22nd overall. Castrol has dropped himself outside the top 20 overall. Daniel Kirby within 4 and a bit tenths of Mike Bell as they head through into the fast left-hand kink here at turn 4 on the run to the Western Horseshoe at T5. And the confidence you said about you can stick Dan Kirby in anything, James, and he's like a duck to water. He's really going late on the brakes behind Bell, who he's able to use as a bit of a marker, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You really... Dan is one of these people that on track, you could almost call him the Iceman. You know, he doesn't falter. When I speak to him, to be honest with you, over last season, he was very stern, he was humble, didn't really say a lot, doesn't like praise. If I sat there and gave him a wonderful intro, he'll just go, thank you. You know, and he's this very humble, down-to-earth guy. And as I say, you can stick him in pretty much anything and he'll do well. And I expect him to do well again here. And this is something that I think for us... Oh, well, there you go. He's taking the lead.
Yep, so Mike Bell dives into pit lane, unleashes Dan Kirby onto the circuit, and that is... Actually, we're seeing Troy Uyen in the number 24. He's decided to dive into pit lane. Ross, talking about strategy, so that would say to me that the Cadillacs, as someone's just decided to go mowing the grass in the infield, that's an LMP2 car. But the Porsche, the strategies are going to be very, very different. We talked about the keys to the race and the strategy for the respective classes. It seems like the Caddies are maybe going for a bit of an undercut strategy.
Well, yeah, you hit a very important point because we've obviously, Storm Gang has done a lot of development with these cars, and each one of them, all up and down the field, Hypercar and GT3, are wholly unique, and each one has strengths and weaknesses that you'll need to be able to press as you go through and develop your setups and your strategies throughout the race. I know, as you mentioned before, the 963, as you see Kirby driving right now, it is a little bit lower on the top end, just like the real car, but it still is competitive, and obviously it really shines through the corners, and that's where it makes up a lot of its time. The Caddies, they are strong on the straights, and they are able to pull a lot of power. So seeing the two cars work against each other, I think probably Kirby knew that the 963, it's not going to be able to beat that Cadillac necessarily on the straight lines and get an advantage there, but if it could maybe slipstream, which I think he was doing quite a bit of, and get that fuel saving in there, that could pop him out another lap or so, save him a few seconds in the pits, and that might just be enough to give him separation as they go into the second segment of this 1.4 hour race.
We're also looking at the guide that we've got, James, that the Porsche out of all of the hypercars is the most compliant on cornering and having a good ride. It's very, very stable once you've got that setup locked in really well.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. We get these gradings that come through for the cars, and you look at it, and from our point of view, sometimes if you're new or anything to this series, you would look at that sheet and think, man, I have just stepped into a field of roadworks with traffic lights, because we've got reds, we've got oranges, we've got greens, we've got a bit of everything. But I think this is the thing. For us looking across the board now, what car would we pick? Now, for me, I would probably still go the 9X8. It's not great on straight line, but I know full well on cornering and compliant that I can get it in through the corners and make up time on the infield. I've seen that in other D24 series or 24 races that I've covered over the last week, because it's been practically D24 every other track, literally. But some people would sit back and go, actually, no, I want the straight line speed of the Ferrari 499, or I want a bit of a mid-runner, so what am I going to go for? Yeah, I want straight line and cornering, so I'll go for the Acura ARX. And this is all the things that these drivers have thought about, but I can guarantee they've probably been out testing every single car. As I say, I drove 2 this afternoon, and I would still look at it and go, oh, actually, I really still like the 9X8. It felt comfortable, and that's really where I want to go with it. You know, that's what I want to do. But others may look at something else and go, you know, let's see how they go.
Well, there's a raft of LMP2 pit stops happening down pit lane at the moment, and also our Hypercar and Hypercar AM class leaders, Dan Kirby and Gilles Lalonde, have both decided to go into the pits. And obviously with the GT3s, we will see a raft of activity there. Update on William Schlichting in the Mercedes-AMG Evo GT3 number 7. He's now managed to get his way past Alan Holden and has dropped him to the tune of about 2.6 seconds in the battle for the top 3 in LMGT3. That's going to be quite an interesting one. But the battle in LMGT3 AM here, guys, is between Ryan Reyes and Paul Ibbotson, both running in the 911 and the 912 numbered Porsche 911 GT3s. Again, Porsche, we talked about it in Hypercar. Let's talk about it in GT3. You know, that wonderful engine drivetrain combination. Rear-wheel drive, rear-engined, and an absolute brute in the twisty stuff. But that particular car, in terms of its compliancy for the driver, you've really got to drive it like you stole it.
Yeah, this is the thing with this car. Now, I've seen this across multiple other series, right? And there's always a saying, the Porsche doing Porsche things. And because of the fact that with this car in other simulators, basically the standing joke is you could do the same thing for 99 laps. You go to do the same thing on lap 100, the last lap of the race, and the Porsche will kill you and put you in the wall. And that's the thing with this car. You've got to drive it aggressively. But I can tell you one thing. It will definitely let you know when you've gone too far. It will definitely let you know when you're pushing it. You know, you can only slap the horse on the butt too many times before he turns around and kicks you. And that's what the Porsche is like. You can only give it too much slapping before it'll want to turn around and kick you. And that's the thing. The Porsche is loved by everybody. Can I drive it? No. Is my right foot too heavy? Abso-blinking-lutely. It will want to kill me every single time. But others, as you say, like Paul Reyes and obviously Ibbotson, are doing a great job. And let's not forget, at the moment, we've got 2 GT3 AMs leading the class over GT3 Pros. The likes of Jacobs, Dave Kors, William Schlichting, Alan Holden, James Walker, Dom Fryman. They've got nothing on Ryan Reyes and Paul Ibbotson. So props to them guys, because at the end of the day they're leading that class as well, so fair play to them.
Ross, let's come to you. See, the Porsche has its gas tank, well, fuel tank mounted in the front, so that front end on that car does get a little bit light when you're nearly running on fumes and need to do a trip down pit road. And that is where I think also, as I said, drive it like you stole it. You've got to be with the car, like James has said, but you can only do so much pushing before the car bites back at you hard.
100%, Alex. Yeah, the 992 definitely has a Jekyll and Hyde personality that can really come out if you don't have the experience and the foresight to anticipate with your driving style, with your setup. And I know that that Ryan and Paul are both very well tuned with this type of car, as our own Jerry Chen would say, a butt-backwards German slot car. But it does have those proclivities. It can be very quick in quick hands and knowledgeable hands, those who are able to take advantage of its strengths. And we'll see how they do through the second half as I think they're going to be coming up on their pit stops here before too long. But as it goes light in the front, just like you say, and the tires start to wear, will that balance kind of shift them back towards their competitors? That remains to be seen. Or maybe they've struck gold with their setup, with their strategies, and they're just going to be able to pull away with that beautiful 992.
James, what are we seeing? Number 7.
Yeah, Schlittling just went really slow.
Oh.
And I can't actually figure out. So this was before. I don't know if he's broken anything, but then going around this corner, he just pulls over and DNFs, unfortunately. So I'm not entirely. I can't really pinpoint any more information than that one, Alex, I'm afraid. But I just know that all of a sudden, and coming at the end of this, I don't know if he's collapsed the front there and or
Let's have a look.
whatever, but he just all of a sudden stops. So yeah, I'm a bit lost. There you go. He just pulls over. So I can't. I don't really know, Alex, to be honest with you.
I think it's probably when he turned left into the Le Mans chicane, could have broken the left front upright suspension. Shout out to East Coast Wolf saying, absolutely love these streams. Thank you very much for joining us. There's a lot of chatter on YouTube where we've got Mikolak, who said all the top drivers are being disconnected. He said, could be worse, Philippe could have qualified second and got a DNS. So do not start, in other words. But once again, gentlemen, Ross, we've got Kirby versus Bell, round 2 after the pit stop cycle for the hypercars.
Yeah, this one's going to be going on throughout the entirety of the race, I think. They're both very strong drivers. They have a very strong rivalry between CMS Pro coming out of the VWC's series last year as against the Smile Power cars of Mike Bell and many of his co-drivers, most of which are not here tonight because they are in your time zone and have smartly gone to bed and for a nice bit of rest. But they're, of course, missing all this wonderful action. So thank you guys for coming out and being with us and part of this experience.
That was a bit of a wiggle coming out of the Western Horseshoe by Mike Bell. He applied the power and had to instantly overcorrect as you now get through one of the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evos coming out of turn 6 and onto the high banking. But this battle has been rather riveting so far here, James. Kirby was behind Bell, now he's ahead of him after the first pit stop cycle. Hypercar's due to have 2 stops here, and then Mike Bell gets the absolute mother of slipstreaming behind Dan Bell going into the backstretch, and oh, he bumps over that curb very, very hard, and it just stops all that forward momentum.
Yep, bye-bye, momentum gone. So he's going to have to go again here as well. But I do want to just pick up on something that nobody, I don't actually remember any of us physically asking here as well. But Matt,
Yes, sir.
the series itself, you know, you said you're following the IMSA and everything else, and we've got the introduction of the LMP2. Did you sit back and think one day that, you know, did your brain all of a sudden turn around and go, do you know what, I'm bored now. I don't just want hypercars and GTs. I'm just going to chuck LMP2s in there for the hell of it.
I wouldn't say I was bored, but I certainly have been thinking for the last couple of years about how to introduce some new elements to give the driver some new challenges. And I did want to see the LMPs. As I think Ross talked earlier on, all of Storm Gang, sorry, I'm just going to cramp my leg. All of Storm Gang showed up at Daytona, and we had a great time at the races there, and I was really impressed with watching the LMPs go around. And I said it would be super to get them introduced into this racing. And so we did it, and really pleased with it. 18 cars, lots of interest. It has had some interesting effect in terms of the drivers that have decided to race that class, the different backgrounds, some coming down from Hypers, some coming with GTs. But I just wanted to do something a little exciting, a little different, throw a monkey wrench into it, and provide the drivers that don't go to the LMP a new challenge because they're not facing the same drivers anymore. Suddenly it opens up possibilities for some of the drivers who may not have scored well to get in there and mix it up a bit more with some other guys.
Oh,
And
this
have
is
some fun at it.
look at this battle here in LMP2.
Yeah.
Becky Ely Clark versus Tom Lane. They were going past one of the Mercedes AMG GT3s, and they have got a Caddy hypercar closing in. It's 3 wide going into the tri-oval.
There we are.
Oh. I need my defibrillator on standby now. James had 1 count of defibrillator. I've got 1 count of defibrillator. But we've gone past 1/3 of the timer counting down from an hour and a half to now 56 minutes plus change. Track temperature was 31 degrees when we started this race nearly 35 minutes ago. We are now at 21 track temp. And, well, one of the good things here, folks and gentlemen in the commentary box, we have headlights on and we have sunset inbound.
Yes. Oh. We're going to go dark, Matt.
Which is perfect. It's exactly what I was looking for, and we're going to get that in the Saturday race as well. But I wanted to make sure that people had that challenge where they get themselves set in their cars, get to use them a little bit in the light, and then they have the curveball thrown at them, the sunset, and then the darkness. And how's that work out as you're trying to figure out who it is that's coming up behind you and what's going on. So this is just perfect. Now, can I drag the driver down?
Now, we are going to do something here. We've been given permission by certain drivers to drag them in the booth while they're driving.
Oh.
Now, we're just hold on.
I'm not saying anything.
Mate, I'm going to give him 3 questions and then we're firing him out. All right, because I've done this before and it doesn't always go well. All right, let's be real. We've tried this, and generally it goes Pete Tong, and then we get the blame for it. All right. Now, obviously, I get myself in enough trouble at times. Anyway, that I don't really want to get myself in anymore with drivers. So we're just going to trial it. We've got a couple of drivers this week. We'll just see if we can get them down into the waiting room. We're going to have a chat with Alec King first, and then we're going to have a chat with JT Tammy a little bit later on. Once that is confirmed and we've got Alec ready, we will bring him in, and then we will physically see how it goes.
Okay, now I've got him. Yep. Wait a second. Got him in the waiting room.
Well, Matthew's just
yeah,
jumped up
it's gone the wrong way there.
Yes, he has. But in the meantime, Alec King has got what is now a 12.1 second lead over the number 435 of Luciano Chiazzo. Tucker Martin in the 73 Arica rounds out the top 3 in the current LMP2 ranking. But you can just see how hard Alec is pushing. So Matthew's back in the box.
Is he ready, Matt?
He's on push to talk, so it's a little difficult for him, but he's ready to give it a try, so I'll drag him across.
Right. I don't know how this is going to go. I'm scared about this. Right. Alec, you're in the booth with James. Can you hear me?
Yep, how's it going, guys?
I'm doing well, mate. How are you doing at the moment?
Doing good, settling into a good pace, kind of finding the rhythm. Now it's just clicking off laps, getting to the end.
Front by about 11 seconds, mate. Are you going to bring it home?
Trying to. Let's just try and be consistent and fight all the way to the finish.
And final question before I kick you back out, because I really don't want to be responsible for you sticking it in the wall at any point. How are we looking for pit stops? Where do you think you're at with your strategy? Are you on target for wherever that may be?
Yeah, so far looking pretty good. Got a couple more stops to the end. We'll just kind of see what plays out. Trying to fuel save a little bit, trying to get an extra lap. But it'll all kind of come down to the end. We'll kind of see where everybody is.
All right, bud. Well, I'm going to let you go, dude, because I want you to concentrate overtaking them cars in front of you. Take care. Have a good one. And we might catch you up down in Victory Lane a little bit later.
Sounds good, boys. And peep the JPB logo on the car. Did it for you guys.
Saw it on the wing, mate. I'm proud of you, darling. I would. If I was there in real life, I'd give you a cuddle.
Appreciate it, boys. You guys have a good one.
And you, man. Take care.
Thanks, Alec. Pass me back.
Okay, so that went well.
Yes.
We'll see how the next one goes. Yeah, well, it had to be rapid, Alex, because I didn't want to get blamed for anything.
No. You didn't want to be... well, we just had a drama. That was for Carl Strahan, the 52 Caddy V-Series. Not having a good one at the moment. Currently running in 24th overall.
Oh, neither did this man, unfortunately.
Oh, dear. Right, what are we going to see?
Blimey, that
This
went
is going
dark.
to-
How's that dark?
Oh,
Don't
no.
forget, it is 10 by time, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a few
So
others
you'll
in
do it
there.
quickly.
Yeah, Luciano Ricciardo is in that lot as well.
Got an Aston Martin in front of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they
yeah.
all got slowed up by the GT.
So that was Mike Bell that got a little bit of a turnaround, which means that Dan Kirby now has a nearly 3.3 second advantage. As you can see, we are under nightfall here at Daytona, and there is Luciano Ricciardo being chased down by, I think it's not Dan Kirby, that's one of the other Porsche 963s. I think that might be Diego Rodriguez in the number 005. But nightfall is here once again at Daytona, folks. And this is where we really see how much it tests the drivers, James. I mean, especially when in the sunlight you've got these wonderful brake markers, but then you have to compromise a little bit on how hard you push the car, especially when you're battling LMP2 traffic, GT3 traffic, and you're trying to get one up on the opposition, especially if you're, say, in the hypercar class, for instance.
This is the thing. They're in a better position than what they would be in something like D24, right? And I say this in a terminology where people might understand, is if you get in the car in the day and you're picking your braking points and you're picking it and you're getting it and you're hitting it and hitting it, then it starts going into night and you can still hit your braking points because you've been out on the track for that transition period. What some people they don't like is they come in at night time, they only drive nighttime, and then their second stints in the daytime, which is a completely different experience. Now, these guys have transitioned from day to night. Yes, it's gone in the blink of an eye, right? We've just seen it, literally, it was daytime, went to the replay, it was pitch black. But they should be still familiar with where their braking points are. And also, let's not forget, they have got lights around the circuit, which is making it a little bit more easier for them. So, although do we think it's going to have an issue? Maybe, but I think because they were out there at that transition period, Alex, they should really be all used to where they're braking.
Yeah, thanks a lot to Philippe. It's actually Oliver Day in the 006 running in the Porsche Penske Motorsport livery, and he's just got through on Ricciardo in the LMP2 car, so made quick work of that, did Oliver, and now he goes through into the Western Horseshoe here at T5. And that's one of the things that I love about Daytona, is that you get that nice run through the driver, but then you've really got to cross your T's, dot your I's, and be on your A game coming into this infield. And now you can see that Ricciardo fires it up the inside because Oliver he gets compromised by a 992 GT3 Porsche in front of it. Or no, that was an Aston Martin in front of him, a very brightly coloured one. I'm trying to make out the number on it.
Looks beautiful. It's Eric Jacobs. The reason I picked this is Jacobs and Cause were going at each other, and they were literally like 0.018 apart, which generally for us in the timing tower means they're side by side, right? There's no gap. So they were battling out. They come through 7, and as they were coming through 7, their battle just got completely interrupted. It's like sitting there eating a steak dinner, and then Ross comes along and shoves your roast potatoes in his gob, you know what I mean? And they've interrupted the battle. So they've got to go one more time and try and do it. But that's the frustration of the GT3s. They constantly get near the fight, they get interrupted, because they're now going to see some form of hypercar every single lap, whether it be an LMP, LMDH, whatever they're going to see, they will see this now every single lap. So for the likes of Jacobs, he really needs to get this done as soon as possible, so he can then have that gap when, if you look in the background now, they come through. And that's been about 30 seconds since their last one. So it's going to repeat. It's going to rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And he needs to get this done over Cause, because he's the one that's getting interrupted. He's the one that's losing the time. Because unfortunately for Jacobs, they're catching him in really rubbish spots, because he's just done a lap where he got caught going into 7, and he's just done another lap, and guess where he's being caught? Going into 7. It is rubbish for him at the moment. He needs to clear Cause if he has got that pace, so he can be the one in the front. He could be the one that's getting away during this traffic period.
Yeah, it looks like that's Lanny Hall, the 66 Lamborghini SC63 that's just gotten through. So we are fast approaching. We're a minute and a half and a bit just away from half time in the 1.5 hours of Daytona here for the NARS Virtual World Sports Car Championship. Thank you so much for everyone that's watching along, not just on the JP Broadcasting Network, but on Champion Sim Racing live on YouTube. So please get your comments in, tell us who you're supporting, and if you haven't already, like, share and subscribe whilst you're at it, folks. Because it might be one click for you, but for Champion Sim Racing, for JP Broadcasting, it means a hell of a lot more as well. Yellow out in Sector 1. We're seeing another raft of hypercar pit stops comprising of both hypercar and hypercar AM class cars. I think Diego Rodriguez I did spot in pit lane. He's just taking a second pit stop as we see this is Carl Strahal again, isn't it, in the 52. That's a glancing blow.
Yeah, he's not coping with this car. I don't know if his balance is off or something inside of this car is not well for Carl at this moment in time. The car seems a little bit sick, but there's been a couple of others in and around. Troy Uyan has been off. That's happened. That's why Troy had to go through. I believe that may have been Max Sunfenlap. And although that is Kirby's colours, is that Kirby in the car?
That was close.
Yeah.
I think it might have been, yeah.
Yeah, there's been a little, it's almost like we could do like a little bit of a replay area, but yeah, there's been a little bit of dramatics taking place at some point.
I think that's
That was a 61.
I'd like to just say a word, a bit of a shout actually for Carl Stroll, because I think this is his first year racing the hypercars, and he decided to take the step up from the GTs. He did very well in the GTAMs last year, and he's decided to step up to the hypercars. So he's on a pretty steep learning curve right now in terms of getting to grips with the car, that massive speed differential you're talking about, and suddenly being the car that's passing as opposed to the car that's passed. So it's not surprising he's having some struggles here as he gets to grips with what it means to be in the hypercar field.
I wasn't bashing him by any shape of the form, Matt. I was literally saying that whatever, I don't know if he's struggling with balance, I don't know if he's struggling with setup. He's definitely struggling with some points of brake pressure, because as he's applying the brake, he's locking the back up, it's coming round on him. So I don't know if he needs to reduce it or go one way with that pressure to get it out. I appreciate it's a learning curve, and I do fully understand that, and it's a learning curve for everybody. But you've got to, I think, with this, he's had multiple incidents. So would you say then that if your car's doing the same thing every time you press the brake, because every time we've watched Carl, it's under braking, that something's happened, would he not be playing with that brake bias in the car to try and find a balance where he isn't hitting the brake and the back end wants to turn around and bite him?
I think we'll see that between this race and probably the next race, we'll see him improving as he comes to understand the finer points of driving the car, because he's coming from the GT. So it certainly is a different style of driving, so he's learning to adapt. He's going to, I'm sure, get some setup assistance as well to work on some of that. A number of our drivers are very forthcoming with their advice on how to set up the car without giving away, the entire farm. But also in terms of the driving. So we'll see him improve over the next couple of races, where he may not be challenging for the top of the pack, but he'll be making fewer efforts, fewer errors as he becomes more comfortable with the car and what he needs to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think learning curve, learn by your mistakes, look at the race back, do what you can do, and that's what I think he will do as the season goes on. So fair play to him for making that step up and having a go, and please, Carl, if you watch this battle, I was not bashing you by any shape of the imagination on that one. It was just an opinion on what was happening within the car there, Alex.
No, absolutely. It was just a little bit of background, to say that there's a pretty, well, there's always good reasons for things going wrong, and in his particular case, he's taken on a pretty big challenge, and he's going to have to work through it on races to get where he wants to be. And I just saw from William Schlichting that things just was not working out, and so he's decided that he's going to park it for the night and race again another day.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, one of the top runners in the GT3 class, but we are very much under nightfall here. We're riding on board with Becky Ely Clark, 10th in the LMP2 class, trying to chase down Mika Dern in the number 2 car. This is the battle for P9 and sparks flying from the Eureka. This is one of the things I love about this attention to detail. You can see the rear diffuser just scraping and sparks flying, and it's also even more impressive under nightfall. And more to the point here, we are seeing some more pit stops. I mean, Dan Kirby has come in, Alec King has come in, Tucker Martin for LMP2.
Oh, she's gone. Oh, she's gone.
Oh,
sorry, Alex. Oh,
Unbelievable.
But Mika Dern on the other side has gone right into the barriers off turn 2. Oh, Becky loses it, then Mika loses it, and Mika goes barreling in, nose end first, and bang, the front end, a complete mess. Let's have a look at the replay, courtesy of Champion Motorsports. Becky loses it, and then Mika just went in with too much speed, sparks flying as he went over the curbs, it unsettles the car, and bang.
I do worry. You know, we had that sparks coming off him. I do worry if he bottomed out on the curb there, because he was literally directly, if you have a look back in the middle, watch as he comes over the curb. I've slowed it down, and as he comes over, he bottoms the car out, and then all of a sudden we start getting sparks flying, and then it unsettles it, and then all of a sudden he's put him on the grass, and then, well, he's just gone into the wall after that, and this is the end bit of it. So I do worry with the fact that he may have been a little bit too low on that one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that when it's scraping, because it effectively means that the rear diffuser is taking the brunt of that, and then all of a sudden it just means that the rear wheels aren't having the full amount of traction. One wheel was on the grass, one wheel was on the tarmac, so completely uneven traction. And as soon as he's gone to accelerate off of the grass, it's unsettled the car and then put him straight into the barriers. And now we see again that wonderful thing about multi-class racing. We have Hypercar, we have GT3, we have LMP2, and that is Oliver Day at the back end of that. Philippe saying, talking to us in YouTube chat, my congrats to Diego Rodriguez, my teammate, and Oliver, my great friend. Diego has not done any practicing. He's taken the car and the setup as is, and is flirting with the top class in Hypercar Am. Michael Lock just says, on the gas in the grass won't end well. Yep, nope. That's just definitely been proven. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, it just goes to show that this is where we are over halfway through this race, and physical and mental stress comes into play. You know, you're sweating buckets, you're in your bubble, you're concentrating left, right and centre, what's happening in front of you, behind you, to your side. You're looking at your HUD, you're looking at how much fuel you've got, when's your projected pit stop, are your tyres degrading, or are they not getting the temperature, because the track temperature has gone all the way down 19 degrees from the start of the race. We are now at 12 degrees track temp, and that, Ross, is like skating on an ice rink.
You said it. It's the
He's gone. He's gone. He has gone. Oh. Ooh. And where did I say, sorry, where did I say he gets caught every blinking lap? Turn 7, where did he get caught? Turn blinking 7. Poor old Eric Jacobs. He's going to hate turn 7 by the end of this run, I can tell you that much.
That's right in line with what we were talking about. Yeah, it's that breaking point. The GT3s have such a deeper breaking point there, and you saw that on 6.3.
Yeah, that's Oliver Day.
Just came in front of him, and that wasn't good.
He cut him off straight away as well. And do you know what? That has got to be a pet hate. Why do drivers do that? Why do they overtake and then go in front of the car and behind they've just overtaken and whack it on in the braking zone? Because poor old Eric Jacobs just copped a rear end of Hypercar there.
We talk about that actually as the admins quite often. George talks about it. I talk about it in terms of the smart passing behavior for each of the classes, and certainly for hypercars. It's not going into the corner for the setup, because everyone talks about it consistently. The hypercar drivers, the GT drivers, the GTs can outbrake the hypercars going in. They can go much deeper. And we've been talking about that for the last year. Do the pass coming out of the corner, not at the last second coming in. But people forget, and they think that they can do it. They can do it. They want to get a clear track for the exit, and especially on the first race of the season, people are still relearning that lesson. You know, and the GTs have the things that they have to think about as well in terms of the behavior of passing. So it's not all on the hypercars. Everyone has to sort of relearn lessons all the way through, and the first race is always the most difficult because the lessons are so shocking, if I can put it that way.
I don't know if I agree with that, Micah.
We can
I'm
agree to
going to
disagree,
play
I
devil's
think,
advocate
can't we?
a little bit here, because I think maybe in that particular incident, Oliver Day, it looked like he actually was a little bit over. I think maybe Eric came over into his lane, not anticipating him braking quite there. And that is that difference in that braking zone for the GT3s. They can just go in so much later, and I don't think he was thinking that Oliver was going to have to be on the anchors quite as fast as that.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to what I was just mentioning just a moment ago with the physical and mental fatigue when you're not just fighting against your opposition in the class, you're fighting to manage everything, and you're effectively a micromanager, so to speak. So you've got to concentrate on so many things, and when you get that little bit of a mental lapse that so much is going on that you think you've covered every single base and then just something goes wrong. We're at that crucial point in this race now with just under 35 minutes until the checkered remaining, that drivers are going to start getting tired. It's bumpy, it's undulating, there's banking to consider. You know, there's a high amount of concentration that all our drivers in every single class here on this opening round, and as you rightly said, I think it was either Matthew or Ross, one of you guys said that, I think it was yourself, Matthew, that you said that this is a tough first race of the season to see where the pecking order lies, really.
Exactly, and you know, so it's a very demanding race because of the high speed plus the infield. It's the first race with the cars. You know, in a real serious race now. It's not just for fun and trying it out, but you're really serious. You're focused. So it's very demanding, and it does expose the drivers for what they do and don't know about their cars, and their own cars, but also what they do and don't remember about the other cars as well.
So we give you the turn of the hour, which is in about 3 3/4 minutes time. We'll give you the top 5 rundown in each of the respective classes, but this is the battle for the AM class lead. It's Caddy versus the only BMW M V8 hybrid, as John Mayo runs deep into T1, and that's Adrian Rice in the number 25, running the same livery that we would normally see on a Team RLL IMSA car through the WeatherTech Sportscar Championship. He gets now the lead here on what is effectively lap 37 of this race. So, yeah, as I said, it's just that slight mistake, and John Mayer just opened the door for Adrian Rice there, James, and well, Adrian Rice didn't need a second invitation on that one.
No, dude, you're never going to give a racing driver a second invitation, are you? Let's be real about it. You leave the door open, mate, and as I say, he goes here, he's going to get robbed, isn't he? That's the thing. You've got to be on the money every single time, and if you're not on the money, you've got to minimize the mistakes you make. You need to keep mistakes down to a bare minimum. You want to come out of this first race with points. It doesn't matter how many, as long as you've got something. What you don't want is to do something ridiculous and come out with no points, because if you come out with no points, you're going to be upset with yourself, because everything you've practiced for at Daytona for the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks is all gone out the window. Something's better than nothing, and you need to make sure you can get something. But for the likes here of Adrian Rice and John Mayer, John's now got to settle back down again and go after him and say, okay, all right, you saw I made the mistake, but now I'm going to come back at you and see if we're pressing you into that mistake. So, for Mayer, it's all on him. How's he going to handle it? I thought we're going to find out, basically. That's what we're going to handle.
Yeah, looks like we might have had our 9th DNF out of 44 starters. Oliver Day has just shown up as a DNF. We've also got Max Sutherland, who's retired DNF, Tom Marcelo, William Schlichting, James Leckie, Graf, Luis Lemos, Matheus Santos, and Vinicius de Oliveira. So we're down to 35 runners and riders as we're running along with John Mayer in the AM Racing Alliance Cadillac. So this is the battle for the Hypercar AM class lead as we approach the half-hour to go mark. Let's take you through the top 5 in the respective classes in the opening round of Season 5 here at Daytona. So Dan Kirby leads the way in Hypercar and overall with 3.6 seconds ahead of John Gutierrez, Troy Huyen, Mike Bell and Scar Pope round out the top 5. So we've got one Porsche, one Peugeot, two caddies, one Aston Martin.
Butter. We nearly didn't have a Cadillac.
Oh, dearie me, that had Code Brown and Clean Up on Aisle 3 written all over that one for John Mayer there. Oh. That was my approach into the Lamar chicane.
Dude, he was nearly in trouble there. We might have to follow this round for a little bit because it didn't actually register that he had a incident. See if I can get a little bit closer to this.
Oh, he went around the outside and just tried. Oh, it just snapped on him.
Yeah, this is the thing. He went for it, and then unfortunately couldn't quite get it down to basically be able to do it. And I didn't really want to come this far back, but unfortunately, I think it might be the only way, unless I can get this from here. No, I can't. It's only from, unfortunately, where it is. But yeah, you got to. He literally just went in too hot, and then unfortunately, he did manage to stop it though, bless him. But boy, oh boy, that was a moment there as well. Sorry, Alex, to interrupt on that one.
No, that's fine. I know we've got JT Tammy waiting in the waiting room for you to do your three quick questions and let them go. So that's the top 5 in Hypercar. So we've got a Porsche, a Peugeot, 2 caddies and an Aston Martin. Adrian Rice, new class leader in the BMW, number 25. John Mayer having that big Code Brown scare in the Le Mans chicane in second. Gilles Lalonde makes it. Funny enough, the 2 Peugeots in both respective Hypercar classes are in for a possible podium with just under 30 minutes to go. Diego Rodriguez and Lanny Hall in the Porsche number 5 and the Lamborghini number 66 round at the top 5 in Hypercar AM. Alec King leading by a country mile. It's like he's trying to get to Miami Airport before anybody else in the LMP2 class field. He leads ahead of Tucker Martin. We've got JT Tammy in the waiting room currently in 3rd place. Luciano Uchiazo and Tom Lane round out the top 5 in LMP2. Leading in LM GT3 overall, but also more importantly the AM class, Ryan Reyes in the 911 GT3. And then it's Paul Ibbotson in 2nd place, running 28th at the moment. Stephen Miller in the McLaren 720S Evo 424 rounds out the top 3, 32nd overall. David Anderson in the 78 Mercedes and Alexander McQuarrie in the 85 Aston Martin Vantage Evo GT3 rounds out the top 5 in GT3 AM. GT3, however, it's the 44 Porsche 911 of Dave Kors that leads ahead of Eric Jacobs in the number 24 Aston Martin. Alan Holden now through on James Walker, so that's a change for 3rd and 4th position at the minute. Well, as I say that, Eric Jacobs now drops to 4th. Don Fryman in the Chevy Z06 GT3R number 7 rounds out the top 5 in the GT3 class, and with 27 minutes and 40 to go, that's your top 5 roundup for now.
Yeah, let's bring JT Tammy in to the booth while he is on his way round the oval. JT, can you hear me?
Yeah, how you guys doing?
I'm all right, mate. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Hanging in there.
Hanging in there. How's it been out there at the moment?
A little bit crazy with the traffic, but other than that, not too bad.
JT, I've got to ask, you have picked that middle class, mate. What was you expecting coming into this race?
God, when I saw all the people hopping in LMP2, some of the practice times were crazy. It was it's looking like it was going to be very competitive, and so far it's turned out to be.
Yeah, you have. You got Uchiazo right up your rear end at the moment there, mate.
I'm letting him go.
Yeah, probably a good idea while you're talking to me. I don't want to be responsible for you crashing anything. What's the ambition, JT? You're sitting in 4th now at the moment. You're going to get Uchiazo back?
No, I think he his last stop he took tires because I shouldn't have seen him behind me there. So he had a really long stop for some reason. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume he took tires. So probably not seeing him again unless he runs into some trouble here. My main thing is working on a Tucker ahead. We have very similar pace. I had some bad luck with traffic early on that got us about a 5-second gap into the second stint, and we're very close to that right now. So I'm trying to get that to just come in a bit more as we head into these the final stint up here in about 5 minutes.
Okay, JT, well, thanks so much for joining us there, bud. I'll pop you back up in the waiting room, and have a good one, mate. We might get to see you down in Victory Lane.
That'd be crazy, but yeah, thanks.
Take care. Well, there you go. Some quick flyby interviews with drivers out on the racetrack there, Alex. JT doesn't quite seem optimistic. However, I'd like to point out to Matthew Overton, oh, he's just went off, who is cursing the fact that we've got the 9X8 on the screen at the moment. But the 9X8 of Johnny Gutierrez battling Dan Kirby for the lead.
And that is very, very much a big development. So Porsche versus Peugeot. So two of the Western European giants in sports car racing. Peugeot, they come back into top tier competition a couple of years ago in the FIA Endurance Championship with some very radical everyone's attention. But this is a really, really interesting battle. Look, both have already done two pit stops. Could there be a smash and dash? Well, look at the speed that Gutierrez has got going into the right. One, he's trying for the over-under on Kirby, but Kirby will plant that on the apex. Gutierrez has to mind his steering and his braking at the same time, but is keeping Kirby very, very honest. Great battle here. Just under 25 minutes until the checkered. And he tags the back of him, and Johnny Gutierrez loses all that run that he got on Kirby at that point.
Yeah, but this is the thing you've got to look at. The X8 has got a higher straight line than the 963, so he's got to really utilize this situation. The problem is the X8 is, I don't want to say sucks in the corner, but it ain't great in the corner. Corner and compliance, it could do with going to therapy and maybe working on it a little bit. Whereas the 963, however, is a different story. The cornering smooth, the compliance smooth. The only hope for Gutierrez in the 9X8, Matt Overton, that's sitting in second at the moment, is he's got to have a go at him round the NASCAR bends. He's got to get close enough coming out of the Le Mans chicane, and he's got to have a go going down into turn one. Got close last time around. Let's see if Gutierrez can do it again.
It's all timing, being able to have the space to get in there and power out and do it smoothly. So he's got a great rocket sled coming out of the corner. It looks like it's going really well for him. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, it also looks like he's going to... do you know that? Oh,
He stuck his nose there. He stuck his nose there big time to Johnny Gutierrez. But once again, you know, there's the big pendulum swing of compliance between these two cars. And as you said, the Peugeot, James, is not exactly the best handling car, but look at the traction it gets out of the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, and he's nearly on the rear wing of Kirby once again going through into turn 4, but they've got GT3 traffic up in front of them, and Kirby's got to be the first one to negotiate that, whereas Gutierrez could take full advantage.
Yeah, this is the thing. Gutierrez has got to know... Breathe in. Suck it in, suck it in, suck it in. Go on, son. There you go. Gutierrez has got to know that he can't get Kirby through the twisties in the middle, right? He must know this. He knows that his run, and I hope he knows, it's got to be out of Le Mans down to 1. And he's got to get close now. Like, he has to be literally where he is. He's got to sit on his bumper. He's got to get as close as he can, take as much curb as you can there here, and now you can go. Now, I tested out how much curb I could take in the X8 during this afternoon's drive, and I found on the exit of the Le Mans chicane, you can actually take more of the right curb because it doesn't bring up anything on the slowdown kind of situation or track limits and warning that flashes up on you. And for Gutierrez, he can actually take more of that right curb to almost middle planting the curb, so the curb sat in the middle of the car. Is it the fastest way? Possibly not, but will he keep his speed up and his momentum going? Yeah, he should be able to, and that's the thing, he's not going to get near Kirby here. Through the International, through the Western, he ain't going to get there. He's got to get close coming out of 7. He's got to get close running down into Le Mans. And then as soon as he goes through Le Mans, he's got to be on that back end. He can't make the mistake like he... Where you going? Where you going? There you go. He can't make the mistake like he did on that last lap because he had a slow, very slow Le Mans, and it's cost him coming there, and he's lost more time because as soon as he come out of Le Mans, he had that slow exit, traffic, and now he's started trying to make time up again.
Yeah, he had to do a couple of risky overtakes through turns 1 and 2 there, dealing with LMP2 and GT3 traffic. So Johnny Gutierrez wants to now close that gap, what has now expanded to 1.6 seconds. We're on lap 45 of this race with just over 20 minutes to go until the checkered here at Daytona, the opening round of Season 5. The NARS virtual motorsport for the modern virtual World Sports Car Championship, and Gutierrez is using the amount of power that this Peugeot car has. Now showing, according to our guide, 644 horsepower, 7,400 RPM redline, and it's also all-wheel drive, whereas the Porsche is rear-wheel drive, will rev as high as, well, screaming like a banshee, 10,000 RPM redline with 655 horsepower. So in terms of the weight, the Peugeot has a 27 kilo advantage. So we are at the 20-minute mark to go, and that gap has gotten further ahead because, again, Gutierrez is trying to push that car very, very hard. And Ross, at this late stage, if Gutierrez is overdriving the vehicle, he's having to overdrive to get past on slower traffic, but by doing that, he's burning through the tyres, especially the rears, when he lights up that gas pedal.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe he ended up taking tires on the stop, and that's just been a huge advantage, or maybe he took more fuel and Kirby was taking less to try and spend as little time on pit road as possible, and maybe he's fighting a pitched battle where he's trying to conserve fuel while also escaping the clutches of Gutierrez back there, because that 9X8 is rapid, and he's got so much confidence. As you said before, just that in that braking zone in the International Horseshoe, he was able to send it just so deep in there. And even into turn 1, you saw him navigating some of the LMP2 and GT3 traffic. He just feels so good about it. And I have to admit, I'm not used to seeing Kirby being chased down like a wounded gazelle in the Serengeti like this. He's certainly not slow by any means, but just under fire, it looks like he's just so much more disadvantaged for whatever reason. So this is going to come down to the wire, I'm sure.
Oh, it's not. He's in pit lane.
Oh, there we go. Right, okay, that's answered our question on that one. So Johnny Gutierrez will. I mean, one of the things that the Peugeot has got in terms of advantage over the Porsche is the fact is it's less time to fill up the tank. It's 90 litres of fuel for the 9X8. It's 100 litres for a full tank for the 963. And that's where you see the weight differential come into play. So yeah, I think it's dependent on. So that is going to be Gutierrez's third stop, and pretty much, yeah, it looks like the Hypercars, all of them, both Hypercar and Hypercar Am, gentlemen, I think you would agree, are on a 3-stopper. So that will depend on when does Kirby jump into pit lane and how quickly, when Gutierrez comes out. Well, that's going to be the point if he's going to come out in front of Troy Uyan, who is closing in. Looks like Gutierrez is on his way out, but Troy Uyan is going to make it a Cadillac going into second position. And well, Gutierrez and Uyan, they are in second and third, so the gap between them will be 6 seconds. Mike Bell is about further 15 seconds off, and again, Gutierrez having to deal with back marker traffic. This is not what he wants. But then, of course, the big question in all of this is how long will Dan Kirby be in pit road? And that's from entry point to fueling if he takes tyres. And there we go, Kirby in the pit lane on lap 46 with 16 minutes and 50 to go. I wonder how much time this is going to chop out of his race lead, which is at the point of coming into the pit lane was the best part of nearly 50 seconds, and it's going to be whittled down as Gutierrez has already broken the timing beam in Sector 1. He'll be hurtling his way through Sector 2, and that gap, as you can see, it's adjusting, is now 24, 23, it's going down all the time, and this could be very, very close indeed. We could... Go on.
I was going to say, it looked like Kirby went up on the jacks then as well.
So, looks like Dan Kirby's taken tyres then. But into T1 will go Johnny Gutierrez, and the gap is... there's Kirby, now Gutierrez, just waiting for the timing to adjust. He just did... Johnny Gutierrez just did a 23.897 in Sector 3. Troy Uyan pretty much matching him. So, folks... it depends now on Kirby managing that traffic. The gap he has over Gutierrez is going to probably be maybe 4 or 5 seconds when it fully adjusts and rectifies itself through the live timing. But Gutierrez now knows, with 15.5 minutes to go, he's got to start pushing really, really hard and go hunting after Dan Kirby.
Oh, he's got to go like a tornado. There's nothing now that he can do apart from drive that absolute wing off that Peugeot, because I don't like it. He's got to go, and he's literally got to try and close that gap. That gap seems to be settling down at the moment, round about 6.1. It's coming down every single straight. So for him, he's now got to make the most of, right, where am I going to catch this traffic? How am I going to get through? Because he needs to get through, and he needs to get through quite quickly. He doesn't really want to be hanging around here. He wants to get past at least that one, possibly the next two if he can, because he doesn't want to get held up going into one. If he gets held up going into one, Kirby's going to have a field day. The problem is Dan Kirby, at the moment, if we jump on board with him, is also got his own bit of traffic to try and manage here. So he's had to go through all of these, and now we've got Gutierrez, who at this moment in time can't.
Faster.
Yeah, because they're fighting each other.
That's the biggest thing. We've got battles for the race lead, we've got battles for class position, and this is where it makes all the difference. We are 14 minutes away from the checkered, and Johnny Gutierrez now finds himself 6.6 seconds behind Dan Kirby, and well, more to the point, Alec King, who you spoke to earlier on, James, said, look, I'm just looking for consistency. Well, he's going to win the class by, I think, probably the best part of nearly 33 seconds. Gutierrez gets through on Lanny Hall in the 66 Lamborghini, only one of the SC63s that we got on the grid in this opening round. But now, yeah, like you said, he's got to drive the wheels off that 9X8, or as you like to say, get rid of that rear wing in the process. And Gutierrez fires it through into the Le Mans chicane, nibbles at the apex on the left-hand turn in, but that was very neat and tidy by the Peugeot. And that just goes to show that when you have a little bit of a motivational carrot dangled in front of you, sometimes you get that second burst of adrenaline.
And this is the thing as well. It's one of these things that we can never work out. Why? Ross might be able to answer this, or Matt, either way. To be fair, why do you drive faster when you see a car that you're chasing in front of you, but yet when you're on your own, you haven't quite got the same pace? Go, Ross.
I mean, any driver will tell you when the target's close, the trigger finger just gets that much itchier. It motivates you so much more because you smell blood in the water. Even if they don't look wounded, you know that now my chances are as good as they're gonna get. I gotta go for it.
Oh.
And you can see him, he's making some dicey moves through traffic. Nothing untoward, but you know, he's got to close that gap down. We're at 6.7, 6.8. Kirby's opening it up, and he's seeing Uyan Troy's right in his mirror, and he is not letting him go. In fact, he's starting to close that down and really stretch the legs of that Cadillac. As soon as he gets in with about 1 second of him, I'm sure he's going to be able to catch some of that slipstream. And if he's got maybe 2 or 3 laps left, he can take advantage of that and pull a run on down. We got just a little over 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's
And I think to go back to an earlier comment, this really highlights Daniel Kirby and places him in that special box compared to most of the other drivers. That whether he's chasing or being chased, or he's on his own, he runs an incredibly consistent, fast pace all the time, and that really makes him stand apart. I'm sure he does feel the same sort of base urges when as Ross said, the prey is close in front, but he's already at the peak of his game, and he just uses that to fine tune it, tweak it, keep going at it. It's really impressive.
right. I've just spotted that Johnny Gutierrez has taken nearly half a second out of Dan Kirby, and more to the point, well, the next person that he's going to have to get through on looks to be, I think, probably David Anderson in the 78 Mercedes in GT3 AM, because for a moment there was some clear air between Kirby and Gutierrez out on track. But the biggest thing is that Gutierrez, whilst he's going to be trying to push, the other thing that we have to look at this equation is that Troy Ruyan at one point was under a second quicker, under a second behind him. Ben Kesby has the fastest lap of the race, and what's more to the point, Ben Kesby has now recovered all the way up to 9th overall and 6th in the hypercar classification. So good work there by Ben Kesby in the number 9 caddy. His best lap was a 1:33.313. As we see the battle here, this is between Holden and Coors, and this is for GT3. So it is Ferrari versus Porsche. Alan Holden's been a bit of a dark horse in this one, James. At one point he was running in the bottom part of the top 5, and now he's leading the class with 9.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think we need to call him Alan the Ninja Holden, because he just kind of slipped his way in there, didn't he? Nobody ever saw him. You know, Coors was having a battle with Jacobs, and we thought that was where the battle's going to be. And Holden said, well, hold on, mate, I'm still here. You know what I mean? Don't share the quiche out to others. I want a piece. And he's now come and ninjaed his way in at the moment, and he's leading the GT3 Pro class, and he's doing a great job as well. So fair play to Alan Holden. You know, we didn't see you, mate, and for that we apologise, but hey, props for sneaking your way in there.
Yeah, so Kirby leads in Hypercar. It's Rice in Hypercar AM, King in LMP2. Reyes has been leading GT3 AM and also GT3 overall from pretty much the start of the race, and Alan Holden has a slender lead over Dave Coors. Is now expanding to about 1.4 seconds. And Matthew, this has been a really good performance from Alan. That the Ferrari 296 GT3, it's a fairly recent addition to the GT3 ranks. It's pretty much a good all-rounder, isn't it?
It is, and I know people struggled with it last year, and it has really come on this year. A lot of work has been done on it by George and others to get that vehicle in the right place to have its own personality, but also make sure that it's competitive, so it's in the right hands. And obviously, Alan has really found the sweet spot for this race for that car, and he's driving it really well. Still a fair bit behind Ryan Reyes, but certainly been pacing him quite nicely, because I think he's only about 37 seconds back, and so that's actually, I think, clawed back a lot of time from the earlier part of the race. Doing a really nice job.
Yeah, I think you probably have to agree with that in pretty much the same sort of statement there, Ross.
Oh, sorry, I had to hit the button there. Yeah, I'm so impressed, because both the 296 and the 992, they have a 50-50 weight distribution, and they drive similarly, which is kind of hilarious considering that Porsche and Ferrari, that rivalry goes back forever, and they've been staples of pretty much every sports car competition ever. And to see both of them at the front of the field for that class is it's incredible. And it's always entertaining to see him go through. But as Matthew said, the team has put a ton of effort in. they've really brought these cars to life while making them unique, and the drivers that are able to just really gel with certain characteristics, with certain styles of driving and setting up the cars, they can make them fly. And this is a great testament to that, and it really shows it off. And I want to give a quick shout out to some of those guys here. Don Fryman, who's down there in 5th in the GT3 Pro category. I know he's a little bit further back, but he's rocking that Corvette, as is he always will. He will never drive anything other than GM. And you've also got Stephen Miller, who's been unassumingly sitting on the edge of that podium. I know that Reyes and Iverson have both been kind of running away with the 992s, but he's not that far away. If one of them has an issue going into the last 6 or so minutes here of the race, he will be in a position to potentially make something up, especially as some of these other top class drivers are coming through and taking some riskier little bits here. And there he is. Yeah, Steven's been on the team with SGS with helping out some of the historics specifically and getting them going. So it's cool to see him out there, and I'm sure he's having a good time. He's a little bit lonely between shores of drivers here, but he's putting it together.
Did
And
you
then,
see
of course,
that? Sorry, Ross. I've got to interrupt. Did you see that?
Lanny Hall.
Lanny Hall. Yeah, and he nearly just got absolutely mullered by by a Porsche there coming around, unfortunately for Lanny, just in mid-speech there. He goes on the brakes, he's hard on the brakes, but it's here now that Porsche comes around and goes, oh.
That was Reyes. That was Reyes, I think, coming through.
Right in the battle.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
It was as well, but yeah, poor old Lanny Hall there. I was like, oh, he's really close. Let's click on him, and as I click on him, he ends up going around. So apologies, Lanny, for that one.
Fate of circumstance on that one.
Just to jump on what Ross was saying, Steven is also one of the few drivers who's driving the McLaren. He also drove the McLaren last year, if I remember correctly. So he's been a real partisan of that car and carrying the flag for the McLaren mark, and is doing well on it.
Yeah, well, we are in the final throes of this opening round of Season 5 of the NARS Modern Day Virtual Sportscar Championship. Thank you for everyone who's been tuning in on Champion Sim Racing and JP Broadcasting. I hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to the season ahead, because next time round 2 head to Long Beach on the 27th. See James Walker here, and now he's battling Dave Coors. This is for second in the class in GT3, so it's Porsche versus Aston Martin. We've got a yellow out in sector number 2, but again, well, that's the sole Corvette Z06 that we've got here. That's Don Fryman in front, I believe, and then James Walker dives up to the inside of turn 3. And still, Porsche doing Porsche things there. Coors keeps it around the outside, gets the traction out on the rear axle. Now it's going to be through the left-hand kink here at pretty high speed through T4. And now James decides to look again, stick his nose up the inside of Dave going through to the Western Horseshoe. And then it's going to be turn 6. And, well, more to the point, there's a further 35 seconds between Walker and Eric Jacobs in the number 24 Aston Martin, but this battle for P2 has really heated up, because at the moment Alan Holden in the 25 Ferrari is 4 seconds up the road with just under 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get close, unfortunately. I was just looking at the gap from Gutierrez to Kirby, and it's 3.6. One of the things that we don't want to count out at the moment is Mr. Paul Ibbotson is just in the back in that Porsche as well, and he's managing to get himself onto the back of the pack. Then they've got that big old gap behind them, but I think this little situation here could be quite interesting how they're going to play this, because you've got Ibbotson, you've got Walker, you've got a back marker, and you've got Dave Coors. The back marker really needs to let them through. Now, I'm not going to get into the please remove yourself from the equation situation, because I end up getting myself in trouble, and George normally DMs. Oh,
no.
Don Simon, the back marker, was playing it pretty straight. He was running his line. He was staying out of the way. I think, and doing everything we ask. It's with 2 cars behind him, are trying to make their play for a pass, and who's going to be successful?
Well,
Nobody.
it was Paul Ibbotson that initiated the 3-wide exchange. Don Fryman finds himself slightly tagging the barrier. You can just see the the overlay, the overlap between the 3 cars, and Don Fryman's 06 takes a bump in the rear. And yeah, it was just the fact that Ibbotson just threw it around the outside. Walker had, well, it was just a case of that was one of those things I said about that mental fatigue, and with a minute and 13 to go on the timer, that means that, well, all I can say is hard luck there for James Walker, because he just literally had Ibbotson with a big lick of speed, with not just slipstream but side draft into T1, and it was, as you said, James, there was going to be something that was going to give, and it just went completely wrong just then.
Yeah, and I'm going to bite my tongue here and just go, yes.
Well said.
I've got to bite my tongue, because there's plenty of things that could have been done that could have avoided that. Yes, they didn't have to be 3 wide. Yes, there was a back marker that didn't have to be there. Slight little lift probably wouldn't have killed him, but they didn't have to. Ibbotson didn't have to send it 3 wide. The problem was, for me, this is where my interpretation of this whole scenario goes awry, is, for me, for Fryman, he's running alongside people ahead of him into corner entry. Now, for me, there was a whole straight, just a slight lift. Like, and this is where I struggle to comprehend the blue flag interpretations from multiple different series that I do, because it could have been avoided. It really could have been avoided, and Fryman could have just carried on poodling around with his race, and just for a slight lift of the right foot. I don't get that.
That's right. Okay, sorry to cut across you. I'd said about grandstand finishes, the time has hit 0. We are effectively on the last lap, and Johnny Gutierrez is now back within striking distance of Dan Kirby. They're going to the Le Mans chicane, and this is going to be the run to the line. We've got a yellow out in sector 2. Who's going to get the better traction coming out of the Le Mans chicane for the final time? Gutierrez is going to have a slingshot and a half here. Kirby goes wide. Gutierrez tries to thread the eye of the needle. He slots in behind Kirby. Is he going to go over? Is he going to go high? He's going to go low. He's going to run it to the line here for the opening round of the season, for season 5. And we go to the tri-oval. Gutierrez trying to do everything in his power. He's going to go to the high side, but it's going to be Kirby. Kirby's going to take the victory across the line by just a tenth of a second. 0.108 at the line after 58 laps.
Did the business.
Do you know the only thing that I wished they'd done for Gutierrez there is, when he ran that high line, he just had that slight moment to put Kirby in behind that back marker, and he just missed it. It was like a whisker away from getting Kirby stuck behind the back marker, and that's all he had to do there, was just block him, just get him in there for 2 seconds, and just make sure that he can, you know, really lock him in. Now I'm going to try and find, as I said, hold on.
I'm sure it was in his mind. I'll be back in a few minutes, guys. I've got to go and finish up the admin side.
Yeah, you carry on. You carry on.
Thank you very much for joining us, Matthew. Appreciate it.
He just had this brief... he's not really going to get it there, unfortunately. I don't think I'm going to be able to go back far enough. But he just had a brief moment, Alex, to be able to get Kirby locked in behind that back marker. Here's the run again.
Okay, so out of the Le Mans chicane, you get... Now, that's a triple toe there. Triple toe there for Gutierrez. He tries to go in the inside. He gets blocked by the LMP2, so he has to keep out of the harm's way whilst those two are battling. And he's running it very, very
just
close.
there.
He goes to the high side. Yeah.
He just almost had a minuscule amount. He just needed almost 2 or 3 miles an hour just to put it up alongside Kirby. And then he would have been there. And that's all he physically needed to get that win. And you're so close, but yet you're so far. And it really is a Yeah, it's a mixed bag here, but here is the final results of the race.
Well, now that the dust has settled at Daytona, Dan Kirby takes the win in the opening round of season number 5 here at the World Centre of Speed, the Daytona Road Course, and by just 1/10 of a second. And now here come the donuts from Dan Kirby. He takes the win after 58 laps of this 3.56 mile circuit by just 0.108 of a second ahead of Johnny Gutierrez. I really, really cannot say anything apart from wow, what a race. I mean, to look at it from that perspective, it's just a case. I mean, Ross, let's bring you in on this one. Johnny it was close but no cigar. I mean, he threaded the eye of the needle when there were 2 battling LMP2 cars, and there you see Dan Kirby wins ahead of Johnny Gutierrez, Mike Bell, who rounds out the top 3. So Troy Uyan dropping down to 4th, with Scar Pope in the Aston Martin Valkyrie finishing 5th. Ben Kesby recovers to finish 6th in the class, and Oliver Day unfortunately DNFing. Adrian Rice picks up the opening victory in Hypercar AM with the BMW M V8 hybrid V8. Gilles Lalonde making it to Peugeot 9X8 Evos, both securing 2nd place in their respective classes. Lanny Hall rounds out the top 3. Good work by Diego Rodriguez. No practice, and the that livery kind of reminds me of the American Le Mans Series Porsche Spider car back in the day, the bright yellow. He finishes P4. John Mayer, Carl Strahal and Norm Graff round out the drivers in that 7 class category. Alec King wins by a country mile to pick up the opening win in LMP2 ahead of Luciano Uchiazio. JT Tammy rounds out the top 3, thereby completing the podium. Tucker Martin and Becky Ely Clark round out the top 5 ahead of Tom Lane, Josh McGlinskey, Eugene Mazur, Mika Dern and Cole McMillan, rounding out the top 10 with 18 cars taking to the starting grid. Then Alan Holden winning in the Ferrari 296 GT3 ahead of Dave Coors. James Walker, well, it could have been 2nd, but a drama early doors with Paul Ibbotson made it that he ended up P3. And I was trying to remember who was actually the winner it was Ryan Reyes in the Porsche that took the win in the LM GT3 AM. Ross, what a great season opener here for season 5 here at Daytona.
Yeah, just so proud of what the team has been able to put together with the cars. I wanted to give Scar kind of a shout out there. He got all the sights and the sounds for us going into this, and we really got a great opportunity to see it and coming together there at the end. That fight with Kirby and Gutierrez, that really shows just how excellently these cars are set up, because they can be so different in so many different spots and still come back together right at the end of the race, just because of circumstance, because of strategy, because of the way that the drivers have just handled the situation throughout the entire way. And within, what was it, 1/10 of a second, I think, after 1.5 hours of hard racing through there, not an incredibly long endurance race, compared to some of them, certainly like the real 24 hours, but still an hour and a half of hard driving. You have so much traffic to contend with, lots of different fuel strategies, tire strategies, and it comes right down at the very end. Johnny came out of nowhere after he kind of slipped back, and he was right there. Mike Bell wasn't too far away either, and it was up and down the grid. You saw it with the GT3s. They were also fighting out, doing a great job. The LMP2s, obviously, they're in spec right there. But man, just great driving by all the guys who came out, guys and girls who joined us today, and just couldn't be more proud. I know Matthew would be saying the same thing. He's probably talking to him right now, saying, "Good job, everybody." Nobody caused huge mischief. There were certain moments, but it was just a great race. Yeah, excellent time.
3 overall different leaders. Daniel Kirby led for 42 laps, Mike Bell for 10, and then Ben Kesby leading for the opening 5. So we're going to wrap up the post-race show here. So we're going to talk to our respective class winners. Let's start with the overall race winner himself. And in adjusted time by 98 thousandths of a second, our overall winner of round 1 and the hypercar class winner leading for 42 laps, Dan Kirby, 98 thousandths was all you needed to win by today.
Yeah, that was insanely close at the end there. I think I got caught by traffic the last 2 laps, so he really reeled in, and then coming through the bus stop chicane with LMP2s, and he was right there with me. That was crazy. Really cool ending to the race.
But still, you led for the majority of it. You go into the next round when we head over to Long Beach on February 27th. A very different track to what we've had here at Daytona for round 1. That Porsche isn't great in a straight line, but you made that look very, very comfortable out there, Dan.
Yeah, hopefully it's a little better at some other tracks, but all you can do is just do what you can and see what happens. So it was kind of a shame Ben Kesby disconnected, because that would have been sweet. We would have had like 5 or 6 cars up there up front. That would have been really, really cool to watch.
Well done on the win to start off the season in the right way, Dan. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Everybody, Ross, George, they're putting in tons of freaking work getting all this packaged and set up for everyone to race. It's ridiculous amounts of dedication to this, so huge thanks to everybody at SGS.
Brilliant, Dan. Thank you so much for chatting to us. We'll see you on February 27th for round 2 at Long Beach. Well done tonight.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, next up, let's bring in our LMP2 class leader who won by 37.3 seconds. Let's bring in Shade Tree Motorsports, Alec King. Alec, well, you said about consistency. Well, that worked pretty well for you tonight, didn't it? And well done on the victory.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it was just really wanted to be patient throughout this race. One of my big goals this year is just to try and get that consistency down from last year. Last year, I had we saw it on the broadcast. I had a lot of little mistakes that would cause kind of big crashes and kind of ruin the race. So now this year, I'm just really trying to focus on just running steady laps and not trying to make any big bold moves to cost myself. But no, the race was awesome. Had a really good time. Car was really fast. Our whole little kind of Shade Tree Motorsports umbrella group that we have going on. We all worked really hard to get that together. And it just kind of came down to just managing traffic and clicking off laps. And once I kind of got in the groove, I felt like I could just run the pace the entire race.
I mean, it was masterful. It was like poetry in motion, to be honest with you, Alec. And to win after a total of 55 laps that yourself and Luciano managed to do, it just goes to show that sometimes consistency works, but also to have that opportunity, it just works really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just you have to put yourself in a good position to try and be consistent. And with this field, I was surprised that the gap that we had at the end, at the 30 seconds to Luciano. It's with these cars, this class is pretty much full spec. Everybody's in the same car. It's not like Hypercar and GT3. Yes, there's BOP in those 2 classes, but this is everybody's the same. So you really have to focus in, and you're chasing tenths, and the tenths of a second a lap is what it kind of comes out to. So just trying to search for that tenth of a second in almost every corner, and that 100th of a second just really kind of adds up all the way at the end. So I was just really focusing on just running laps, and then just kind of looking at the relative and trying to be as consistent as possible, and then also managing fuel a little bit. I was trying to go as long as what I could. I was a lap short on the first stint than what I wanted to be, so kind of at the end I was trying to make up as much time towards the end to try and gain a lap back. But when it came out of the end, we were super happy with it, so couldn't be more stoked to finally win this. I've been always wanted to win the first round and win Daytona just because it's Daytona. It's kind of our mini Rolex, and now to finally be able to do that feels awesome.
Well, congrats on the W. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go, Alec?
The whole Shade Tree Motorsports group, it's myself and JT, that's kind of the lead team, and then Ram Ranch by STM and TP Performance by STM. Those are our 2 kind of buddy teams, and we've all kind of got a little umbrella group to try and figure this car out. CMS, Champion Sim Racing, for always hosting these events and doing this for us. All the guys at Storm Gang Simulation, from Ross, George, Matthew, John, Jerry, Scar, everybody. I've been I've had a couple late nights with George the past couple nights trying to get this update ready for this race, and I think we've got a mod that's really starting to come together, and really excited to see what we can bring to the future. But just everybody for coming and doing these races with us. You guys in the booth, always appreciate the commentary. It's awesome to have you guys doing this, and just my family for putting up with me doing this, and yeah, just excited for next time.
Brilliant. Well done, Alec, and congratulations on the win. We'll see you next time on February 27th for round 2 on the streets of Long Beach. Well done.
Thank you guys. You guys have a good one.
Brilliant. Alec King there. And let's bring in our next up, our Hypercar AM class winner, Adrian Rice, the sole BMW M Hybrid V8. Adrian, well, welcome to Victory Lane. Congratulations on the win.
Yeah, thanks. I took to register then. What was happening?
Did you think it was possible to get a win? Because obviously you're the only one that, out of everyone in Hypercar, both the Pro and the AM classes, that decided to go with Munich's finest.
Yeah, well, I'm not known for my brilliance in car choices, so it was a bit lucky. I knew the Peugeots were really quick because I tested that as well, but I thought, well, no one else is driving it, someone might as well.
But we saw a really good battle for the class lead, where you'd taken the lead through into the horseshoe, Rodriguez International Horseshoe, and then just your nearest rival then decided to unfortunately over rotate and gave you a bit of a country mile to work with, and then I think your winning margin was the best part of over a minute ahead of Gilles Lalonde in the Welter Racing Peugeot 9X8. It must feel nice to kick off the season in the right way, wouldn't you say?
That's always nice to have a good result. I mean, it's always a bonus. I just try to go out there and do as well as I can. I was quite, when I was running around in third and doing pretty well, I was happy with that. So to get further up is always good.
And thoughts about Long Beach next time out on February 27th for round 2. Is that going to be a circuit that might suit the BMW, and obviously the way that your driving style has complemented it on this opening round of the season?
Daytona's a bit of an outlier for me. I haven't really tested the car enough at the other tracks. So I did the BOP races in the Peugeot and the Porsche. So the BMW was sort of like a last minute, oh, I'm just going to do it. So I won't really know what it's going to be like on anything else until I actually sit down and practice for it. So you'll know as soon as I know, sort of thing.
Brilliant. Well, Adrian, congratulations on the win in the Hypercar AM class here at Daytona for round 1 of the season. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
No, probably more just an apology to Don for I don't know if you saw it, but I did have a bit of a brain fade at one stage. I just missed a breaking point and didn't make life very comfortable for him. But other than that, no, just well done to all the guys who do all the work on these things. I know they put a lot of effort into them, and they've been working pretty hard, and it's nice to see it come together and work pretty well on the day.
Brilliant. Adrian, we'll see you in 4 weeks for round 2, and well done on the W.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, let's bring in our LMGT3 race winner. Well, it was the Cavallino Rampante, the Ferrari 296 GT3, the number 25. Let's bring in Alan Holden, who at one point was running at the lower part of the top 5. But Alan, welcome to Victory Lane, class winner here at Daytona. How are you feeling?
Well, I feel pretty good. That was certainly one of the more wilder races of all time. I had a better qualifying due to a few certain circumstances, but I was able to fight back. I spun at the bus stop that's the second time I've ever spun at the bus stop while leading at Daytona, but I was able to win this time instead of only getting a second place as I did last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Ferrari the Ferrari looked really handled, and I think James nicknamed you as Alan the Ninja Holden, so I think you've got a bit of a nickname coming along with you for the ride for the rest of season 5, because at one point we were seeing you P4, P5. But how did the car feel around Daytona, especially when there was that significant temperature change from going from, like, say, 31 track at the start of the race to round about, I think it was 10, 11 degrees by the time we hit the checkered?
Yeah, I felt that the Ferrari was probably easily one of the fastest GT3s around here, and I mean, I was gapping guys on the straights. I mean, I would probably rock up behind someone, and then I would cruise past them, going on into the bus stop or into turn one. So I feel like the Ferrari was pretty good. It was a little bit sketchy in the bus stop, in that those inside curves on the bus stop was really the ones I kind of had to move away from as the race went on. But I think other than that, the Ferrari was really, really good around this track.
Are you hoping for maybe some of the same at Long Beach in 4 weeks' time on February 27th for round 2?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I won at Long Beach last year. I think I had a pretty good car there as well. It's mostly just trying to. It's mostly just going to be traffic management at Long Beach, because we're going to have another faster class. They're going to go past us, so that's just going to be another thing to worry about on the race. That's mainly the issue we're probably going to have at Long Beach.
Well, Alan, well done. Congratulations on the win today here at Daytona. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
I'm also at all the admins, especially you guys broadcasting the race as well. I have you guys on my roof. I have you guys' logos on my roof now. I've made my own car now, so yeah, it was really good. Absolutely, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you, Alan, for joining us in the post-race show, and well done. We'll see you at round 2 at Long Beach in 4 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Okay, big thank you there to Alan for joining us in the post-race show. But we have one final driver. This driver not only won the LMGT3 AM class, but he won LMGT3 overall. And this is an interesting statistic because he won it by over a lap. Ryan Reyes, welcome to Victory Lane. LMGT3 AM class winner and overall LMGT3 winner. Well done. Great job. You literally were on fire in that Porsche.
Yeah, it was quite a long race. I haven't raced 90 minutes in a while, so it was nice to get back into the groove of it.
So, what was your plan of action? Because we know that Porsches like to do Porsche things, and you know, you were very, very confident. We could see how well planted the car was as you progressed through the race, and you did get some screen time. But we were finding there were battles up and down the order. Daytona's a bit of one of the, is a wonderful world-renowned gem in motorsport these days. But I think Alec King in LMP2, our class winner from Shade Tree Motorsport, summed it up that consistency is king, especially when it's a 90-minute enduro, isn't it?
Yeah, that was actually the game plan. I know this track, I'm kind of Daytona'd out. all the other sims, iRacing, and all that stuff too that I'm on are all just Daytona lately. So yeah, I just took that consistency mindset into this race, managing tires and trying to avoid the Porsche doing Porsche things. So a lot of it had to do with the weight balancing and making sure that my entries were smooth and all that, because one little mistake in the Porsche, I feel like you would just spin. So my mindset was just be consistent every lap. I think I tried to aim for 144s, 145s the entire race. And that's what pretty much kind of got me the win, not because of like the car itself, but I think just being consistent every lap and sticking to my lines was the major factor in it.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations on the win. A fantastic, dominant performance, not just for AM, but for GT3 overall. Ryan, anyone you'd like to give a shout out before we let you go tonight?
I want to shout out my team, my friends in real life, Alex and Mac. They, helped me with setting up the car and helped me practice and all that. Especially Mac, he's like the setup guru. So, I give him some feedback and he, tries to suggest some things to, control the Porsche a little bit better. And then also, of course, my girlfriend for letting me ignore her for 90 plus minutes and letting me race. So I appreciate that.
Well done, Ryan. We'll see you in 4 weeks' time on February 27th for round 2 at Long Beach.
Cool. See you guys then.
Well, that concludes the interview section of our post-race show here. And a big thank you once again to our partners, contributors and sponsors, Storm Gang Simulation, SimRace 24/7, Champion Motorsports, Grid Finder, Ozadog and Design, JM Virtual Tracks, Virtual LM Sportscar Simulations, Optical Dreams Soft, Brian B, and everyone else that you see on the screen, including the broadcasting team at JP Broadcasting. Ross, Matthew, James, final thoughts before we wrap up.
I think that was great. I think that was a great start to the season. And I think if that's what we're going to get for the rest of it, well, it can only go well, right?
Yep, I completely agree with that sentiment entirely there, James. Matthew?
I'm the same. It's just great sitting back. And as much as all the angst about not being on the track, watching the racing going on, the great examples of some real skill out there, exciting moments of passes and the chases, and Ryan doing so well as the AM. He's been plagued last year with a bit of a up and down sort of season, which is why he's racing AM. But he certainly showed he's got all the pieces there to compete at the front, and he may find himself jammed up to pros very quickly if he keeps it together like that. And I'm certainly hoping he does, because that was just a great performance. I'm very excited. Looking forward to Long Beach in 4 weeks, 3 weeks, and looking forward to being on the track and joining guys. Everything in my move should be sorted out, and be there contesting things with them.
Ross?
Well, Alex, I could go on at length about what we saw today and what we have coming up, but I know you have a very early morning, so I will just say this. This went very well. We got to see exactly how the BOP process and the overall driver preparedness has really been demonstrated here, and has made for some great racing, and it's going to make for some even better racing as we go to very different and unique tracks throughout this entire calendar. So I'm looking forward very much to seeing how the field shifts around as we go into those tracks. And this has been kind of a little bit of a prelude for what's coming up this weekend for the VWSC race, which will also be taking place here at Daytona. It'll be the 2.4 hours, the kickoff round for that sister series. And we won't have LMP2s, but we will have quite a number of cars, and it'll be at a Euro-friendly time. So we'll see lots of US and European drivers joining in that all across the world. So yeah, this is going to get juicy.
Boo, no LMP2s. Boo, up the NARS. Boo.
You'll have to work on George.
Oh, well. Might have to work him a little bit harder, but maybe twist both arms behind his back on that one. Who knows? But folks, thank you very, very much for joining us. The commencement of season number 5 for the 2025 NARS Virtual Modern Sports Car Championship at Daytona Road Course. You've been joining myself, Alex Goldschmidt, James Parfitt, Matthew Overton, and Ross Smith. This has been a JP Broadcasting production, and we will see you in 4 weeks' time for round 2. We go from Orange County, Florida, to the streets of California at Long Beach. We look forward to seeing you all then. As I always like to say, race hard, race fair. And if in doubt, you better go flat out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.